Showers, 67 degrees at 3:06. I'm Laura Oakes. The suspect charged in a spree of violence, including the murder of former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman, changes his plea in federal court. More now from WCCO's Mark Fry.
Vance Boelter spoke quietly but confidently throughout the hearing, where he pleaded guilty to 6 federal counts related to the murders of Mark and Melissa Hortman and the shootings of John and Yvette Hoffman. As part of the plea deal, Boelter will avoid the death penalty. He is expected to serve 2 consecutive life sentences, followed by 40 years in federal prison. With state charges still pending against Boelter, Judge John Thunheim noted he will set a sentencing date within the next 10 days, with sentencing expected to be done by the end of July. With more, here's WCCO's Taylor Rivera.
U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen says he stands in complete agreement with the decision to accept a plea deal in the Vance Boelter case. Rosen strongly defended the decision, saying that not taking the death penalty route guaranteed consecutive life terms without release for Boelter.
The direction that we had was that we will not seek the death penalty provided Mr. Boelter enters into the plea agreement that you all saw him enter into today. That was the only circumstance under which the death penalty was off the table. We continue to believe this case was charged right.
Attention now shifts toward the upcoming federal sentencing hearing and the separate first-degree murder charges Boelter faces in Hennepin County.
Target Field concessions workers announcing today they will strike on June 22nd if no deal is reached over pay and working conditions. Their employer, Delaware North, saying in a statement they'll continue full-service concessions regardless. Union leader Shay Friedberg is skeptical.
I'm thinking they're going to have a really hard time staffing, and any scabs that they bring in are not going to be as experienced as union members. I would encourage them not to allow their scabs to serve alcohol, because they're not going to be trained professionals like Local 17 members are.
The two sides are still negotiating this afternoon. It is back to the drawing board for the redevelopment of a key piece of George Floyd Square in South Minneapolis. The full Minneapolis City Council voting to reject Mayor Jacob Fry's proposal to award the People's Way project to the Minnesota Agape movement. Council members expressing concerns about the group's qualifications and saying the public's input was not considered. Congresswoman Angie Craig responding to a photo posted on social media showing her hugging Republican Congressman Tom Emmer, the House Majority Whip. She tells the Star Tribune that Emmer posted it to help her opponent, Peggy Flanagan, who Republicans feel they have a better chance of beating in this year's election, and had his press team in the room ready to take a photo of them interacting. WCCO radio political analyst Blois Olson.
It's unlikely to have a massive impact in the election, except for I would guess that it'll show up in ads. It'll show up in targeted messages to DFL voters going forward.
Craig says the reason they're smiling in the photo is because she made a joke about whether she put him in the knee scooter he currently uses, in a nod to a heated argument the two had on the House floor in January over the killing of Renee Good by ICE agents in Minneapolis. WCCO News Times, 3:09.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Things jammed up already this afternoon. West 94 past 169 to Weaver Lake Road. If you're going to be traveling 94 westbound into Minneapolis, get ready for the slowdowns there. Riverside into the Lowry Hill Tunnel, and South 35W congested already as moved between 106th Street and Highway 13. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCL.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
And here's WCCO TV Chief Meteorologist Chris Schaefer.
A lot of things are moving out. The rain, the storms, the humidity will be partly cloudy overnight tonight, down to 62. Now, a few scattered showers are possible tomorrow. Nothing severe expected. And what a difference. Only a high of 74. Plenty of sunshine on Friday, up near 79, a bit breezy. We should be dry this weekend with highs in the 70s.
Light rain right now, 67 at News Talk 830 WCCO.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha.
Nothing. It just turns into nothing so quickly.
On News Talk 830 WCCO. You're thinking about it. Jason's talking about it. There are no breaks on bold takes here. Buckle up. This is Drive Time with DeRusha. Tuned up and rolling thanks to Luther Kia of Bloomington. Now, live from Minnesota's biggest microphone, here's Jason DeRusha.
Well, I'm still shook by some of the details that Mark Fry heard in the courtroom today. Vance Boelter pleading guilty. In a way, this should feel like there's some kind of closure. It's drive time. Jason here, Dan here, and Laura as well. We will get legal analysis coming up, but why do I feel so unsatisfied? Something happens in a plea deal, short of a full court hearing, that in a full trial, that I don't know. I feel like we deserved more than what we got today from Vance Boelter. Vance Boelter revealing some information today that we didn't know about yet, and some of it, frankly, I wish I didn't know about it. The fact that when he arrived at Melissa Hortman's house and Mark Hortman answered the door, all the lies. What an absolute monster, this guy. Where not only, he made up a badge number, claimed he was with Maple Grove Police, said there was shots fired in the area. Mark Hortman's like, oh my gosh, I'm glad. And then Boelter's like, well, I need to talk to your wife. And he calls his wife to the door. Just doing what I think a lot of us would have done in that moment. My question to you, and you're welcome to react at 651-461-9226, about this feeling that I have, this sort of like, I don't know, I wanted to see a prosecutor just fillet this guy. I wanted to see him on the stand. I wanted to, there's something about a plea that just feels like we whimper to the end of this. And this guy changed the way I think about politics in Minnesota forever. And I guess that's the question that I want to ask you. What's changed since that Saturday when Vance Boelter showed up at not just Mark and Melissa Hortman's house, but at John and Yvette Hoffman's house, at Kristen Bonner's house, at Ann Rest's house, 4 homes of 4 regular people, right? Regular people who decided to step up and run for public office. This wasn't the president. This wasn't the governor. These were some state reps. Would you run for office going forward? I know some have said that this makes it more important. I got to think, if you said to your spouse or parents or children that you were thinking about running for office, that, man, if my kids said it, I wouldn't be sure that I'd be super supportive about it. And some of what we heard in court today, I think, underscores that. 651-461-9226. Hearing that Vance Boelter not only, was trying to lure Melissa Hortman in to come to the door, but then after he shot Mark Hortman, multiple times, then he chases her in the house as she's trying to run up the stairs, and this absolute, monster is the only word that comes to mind that I can say on the radio, that he shoots her and killed her by putting the gun to her head. And I don't know, man, like, after these things happen, and this was one of the largest manhunts in the history of Minnesota, you have that sort of, well, we gotta clean up the way we talk about politics. It's hard to hear this stuff and think that, like, the tone, I don't know. Is this guy just is he a one-off oddity? Or is there a bigger thing at work? I don't know. For me, it's hard to think about politics in this state being the same. And, I have interacted with all of these legislators that we named here, and I have such admiration for Senator Hoffman. After this, to keep going to the Capitol, would you have that in you? Would you have that? I guess it takes you one way or the other, right? It makes you more determined to do good. Or it makes you coil up into a ball. Part of me thinks that's what I would do. Now, there's always a sacrifice, right? There's always a sacrifice when you accept a plea. And part of it is the fact that this sort of uneasiness that I feel, I don't know where the families feel. Their emotions on this are far more important than mine. I, like a texter, said, Jason, this is disappointing because we all wanted to see at least a trial and probably to a greater degree a little eye for an eye and or street justice. Yeah. I like to think I'm better than that. I like to think that I don't want that vengeance, but I'm not. I do want that vengeance. I do want to see Vance Boelter squirm on the stand as opposed to today having the ability under questioning by his attorney to give some of these details where the family, of course, sitting feet away. And we'll try to get some insight on that. Paul Bloom from Fox 9 was in the court. He's going to join us at 5:30 today to talk a little bit about the emotion that was in there. But the trade-off that prosecutors make is they pulled the death penalty off the table. And we don't know if they would have been successful at getting the death penalty, but for conversation, is that the right move? You're welcome to weigh in on that at 651-461-9226. I think it is. And that's without even going down the road of whether I think the death penalty is the right thing or the wrong thing to do. I think when you're given a sure thing that a guy who did something this horrifying is going to spend the rest of his life in prison, no chance of getting out, no chance of seeing daylight ever again, I think you take the deal. I think you have to take the deal. But I don't know if you guys are like me, where part of you does feel like you would have liked a trial. It does feel that there's always something, Dan, when you get to a guilty plea where it feels a little like part of me is glad that the family doesn't have to go through the trauma of sitting there and hearing detail after detail. But I guess that's me assuming that they don't want that. Maybe to a certain degree they do. I don't know.
I think, the emotions that you're wrestling with and that, we've seen people express in the text line are perfectly rational and understandable. Right. And I think that's why it's so important that we have the system that we have, that we're not making those decisions about, eye for an eye or, I want to see this guy grilled by a prosecutor, that we're not making those decisions out of emotion, but out of the systematic justice that our system provides. Right. You have a situation where, first of all, there's still state charges pending in this. So there still could be a trial.
Right.
Where all this stuff could come out. And of course, the state never was going to consider the death penalty because the state doesn't consider the death penalty.
Right.
So the fact that you have this broken individual, as you said, locked up, he will never taste free air again. He will never see the light of day. He will never threaten another free person ever again. Society is safe from this individual. and he's going to pay in probably the harshest terms possible by having to spend the rest of his natural life behind bars in the midst of the horrors that most of us can only even begin to imagine that you find in prison. I think justice is served. And I think the system worked how it's supposed to work, which it does. As much as we love to complain about the brokenness of our system, our justice system, and there are spots where it is actually broken, it works quite often very, very well. And I think that's what we've seen here today, is the system working how it's supposed to work. And if it leaves us a little uneasy, like we didn't get full satisfaction, the other consideration is put this guy on the stand. You know, of course, he's going to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That doesn't mean that's what he's going to do.
Right.
And I don't know, as much as you want some sort of closure of to know the event by event what's going to happen, are you really going to just take his word for it because he said so on a stand? I get the desire for that. I just don't know that it's ever really achievable.
I would like to know why, what motivated. This is something, and we talked about it a little bit the other day, like my skepticism on the tone discussion that always comes up. Our politics is so harsh. We make things so personal. All of these things are bad. I'm never going to be one to argue that we should be jackasses to each other. I will say in my social media post yesterday where I expressed skepticism that tone is truly a contributor to incidents of political violence. I will say it's fascinating. And by fascinating, I mean not surprising and not fascinating, that most people just want to talk about how their opponents have a tone problem. And then other people want to call me names. Amazing. No, yeah, you're willfully ignorant to Russia. Well, thank you for your contribution to the positive tone in talking about politics. I do think we have a problem with the way we talk about politics, but I'm not certain that the direct line is there that some people want there to be. And most people, I think, use tone as a way to come after people they don't agree.
Exactly. I think most people think the other side has a tone problem in politics, not them.
Right. Right. Texters at 651-461-9226. And I do think you're right, Dan. The system does work. The one thing I do want to know is what, besides sort of the crazy where he says like at one point he said Tim Walz was telling him to go do whatever, come on, crazy. But it would be illuminating and useful, I think, if we had some better understanding as to what it was that motivated these kind of folks. And maybe the problem is that the answer doesn't make sense. The answer isn't satisfying. The answer, as Dan indicated, is often a lie from the person telling the story. So, like, what made you make this list of Democrats? For the most part, my understanding is the hit list that investigators found in Boelter's car was Democrats. So what happened? What got you there? Texter Jason Boelter cannot be pardoned. Correct. Federal sentences don't have parole, don't have pardon. Well, could he be pardoned? Sure. I'm not sure if that was a condition. I don't know if you can make that a condition because it's not up to the court if you get pardoned or not. It's up to the president. But I guess I know why people kind of their head goes where it goes, but it's not something that I think is a realistic thing to worry about. Jeff is in St. Paul. Jeff, thanks for calling CCO. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Jason. As usual, I'm just calling to say that you're right, that we'd like to know why. And I'm concerned that if we don't have a trial, we won't get to learn all the details, and people will investigate all the details to find out, okay, well, where did he start his radicalization? Where did he get his guns? Where did he make his plan? All that kind of stuff. And all that stuff is, he's guilty. We'll just put him in jail and we don't have to deal with any of this anymore. And that's why I'm a little bit concerned about him pleading guilty is that we don't get to find out how this, the political violence started. It's kind of like if political violence is a disease like Ebola. If somebody got Ebola, wouldn't we want to know, okay, well, how did it get here? And who is he being in contact with? And what did he do to try to spread it?
Yeah, and are there things as a society we could maybe do better to try to prevent these things to happen? Were there opportunities for people in his sphere to say, like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Are there things that like we could tease out to be warning signs for the rest of us to look for? I'm interested in those things too.
In almost every mass shooting, there's always people who have concerns and they didn't know what to do with them. There are way more of those people who, oh my God, what's this guy thinking about, compared with, oh, he was such a nice guy, I had no idea he was going to do this. There's way more people who said, wow, I wish somebody had said something, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
thanks, Jeff.
you.
Yeah, appreciate it. 651-461-9226.
I appreciate, Jeff's thoughts on that. I think the comparison that he makes is problematic in that when you're talking about the spread of a disease or whatever, that's science figures that out, right? It's not necessarily talking to an individual or, and you're talking about somebody in the case of Mr. Boelter that is broken. I mean, fundamentally broken. To decide that this was a good idea, to plan it out the way that he planned it out and to execute this, to think that you're going to somehow in court testimony or in further investigation, get him to give you all the details of the whys and the what fors in a way that you and I, who are hopefully considered rational human beings, are going to be able to comprehend and then apply. You know what I'm saying? I think I get people's desire for that.
That's all we have, Dan. Like, that's all you have. So all you have to get to piece any of this together where we can learn anything from it is either going to be as you're 100% right, the story these folks are going to tell is not a credible story.
Right.
It's shaded through their own delusion. It's shaded through their own self-interest of having their heroic narrative be out there. But if you can take some of that with like computer evidence, with some of the forensic evidence, like, am I optimistic you're going to get something actionable? No, but it's more optimistic than not going there.
I totally get what you're saying. Like I said, I understand the desire and the want for this.
Yeah.
My point is that when you get to that, well, I mean, probably not.
Yeah.
To me, that's not worth trading for making
fair.
sure this guy is spending the rest of his natural life behind bars.
Yeah.
That's the trade-off to me that, again, I wouldn't make. So
totally get that. Mark on YouTube says we will have a state trial. So in this case, he's saying, look, you don't want the families to have to go through this again. He might want to talk about the manifesto, some of the stuff he's written. And Mark's perspective is that he doesn't really want to, he doesn't care to hear about that. And I get that too, where just giving this guy a microphone or giving him access to tell whatever delusional thing he wants to tell, that's negative as well. I mean, there's nothing good about this stuff, right? What I am most interested in is trying to figure out, are there better ways that we can stop these men? It's almost always men. I think it's valuable to point that out because it is men. It's violence. It's men. It's people who are removed from society in one way or the other. And so is it the people who are listening to sort of the most inflammatory voices out there? Maybe. Or is it people who are isolated, secluded, finding community in the dark web and extremism? I don't know. Are there ways that we can figure that out? I don't know. Texters, obviously the federal government didn't care enough to go to trial. The government will have him analyzed and studied in prison. I don't know that that's how that works exactly. Texter says, why would we not kill this person? Death penalty should be used, especially in a case when he's killed this many people. Well, he killed 2 people. I don't want to we're not having competition for how many people, but 2 people is, for me, the reason that the death penalty becomes warranted in this case is, for me, this is political terrorism. This was an assassination, plain and simple. And that is different from killing 2 people during a burglary or during a robbery, which that would qualify as a federal. Now, I don't know. I think it's pretty clear that on a federal level, there were a lot of questions about whether or not you were going to have a valid death penalty case here, which is part of why the feds pulled it off the table. Should you ever have a death penalty case? That's a moral question. We for sure have a federal death penalty statute. And so it is available under certain circumstances, which in this case, look, if I were the federal prosecutor, I think I would have made the same deal. Is it worth the risk that some evidence gets thrown out or you don't get a conviction? Even if the risk is 5%, are you taking that risk? I'm not. I would take the consecutive life sentences in this case. Texter says the cost of incarcerating him for 30 years and the cost of putting him to death, which one costs societies to become better? Death penalty is way more expensive than life in prison. There's been a ton of research on this. I know it seems counterintuitive, but putting someone to death is very expensive. It's not a money saver. It's done out of vengeance and retribution. There's no evidence that it's a deterrent. I think Dan and I agree on the merits of that. Where we disagree is that sometimes I think vengeance is valid. Dan's a better person than me.
I would never say that.
I'm saying it.
I know you
I
are.
think you are better. I admit that this is like it's the part of us that we all can have rational, logical conversation. But then when it comes down to it, if you say, should this guy be put to death? I would say yes. And
I totally understand people's desire for that. And I don't
proud of
judge
it.
them for that. I don't judge you for that. To me, it's a moral principle. And if life is supposed to be sacred, then we have no business taking anybody else's life.
Yeah. I get
and that's not being soft. Lock this guy away. 23 hours out of the day, 4x8 cell, bread and water the rest of his life. I got no problem with any of that. I just don't want us killing people.
Yeah. Jason, an eye for an eye just makes everyone blind. Spoken by Mandela. Text by Mary from Minnetonka. I get it. Let's break. We're going to talk to Mike Bryant a little bit about the legal side of this. What happens with this state trial? Why even bother? Mike will join us with that. Drive time on a Thursday here on CCO.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO. Thought-provoking.
This deal with HCMC for HCMC is actually the very least our lawmakers could do.
Strong voices, sharp opinions.
Donald Trump makes his decision on law enforcement, on justice, when it benefits him.
Where you don't have to be loud to be bold.
I would like to get rid of mail-in voting, move Election Day to Saturday, and say show up or shut up.
Minnesota's radio station. News Talk 830 WCCO.
Hey, it's Benita. We all know how great the John Schuster Group, Coldwell Banker Realty is. Moni, how did you get started working with the Schuster Group?
It started off with my husband driving to work one morning, listening to WCCO, and a commercial for the John Schuster Group came on. My main contact was Tim Sabin. They posted the listing. By the end of that day, we already had over 600 views. It was crazy. There was one offer that by far stood out way above the rest, over 10% over asking, and they had cash in bank.
If someone is on the fence about hiring the Schuster Group, what would you tell them?
To see it just blow up like that and move so fast and to get so much more over asking, it couldn't have been a more exciting and fun time. Selling that house for 20 years, one of the hardest decisions I had to make in my life. Choosing John Schuster Group, Easiest decision I ever made in my life.
952-222-9000 online, johnschustergroup.com.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40, and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-329-1010. That's 1-800-329-1010. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-329-1010. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
You can find slowdowns in place traveling west 94 Hemlock Lane to Weaver Lake Road. And then again, as you make it toward County Road 30, get ready for slowdowns there. Traveling northbound 35 east, some flowing right through downtown St. Paul as you head up toward Maryland Avenue. And then 94 westbound into Minneapolis, that slows past Riverside. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
All right, rainy today. We need the rain, but I still don't like it. Here's Chief Meteorologist Chris Schaefer.
Tonight will be very transitional. The rain and the storms clearing out. Much more comfortable air moving in. Partly cloudy, falling back to 62 overnight tonight. Scattered showers are possible tomorrow. We'll take the rain and bank it. Nothing severe expected, a high of 74. Friday, the sunshine returns, a high of 79, which is close to average. A bit breezy. Our high should stay in the 70s right through the weekend.
Looking at live radar, it is raining all over the place. Metro area looks like we have a little window of dryness, but surrounding us almost everywhere. Light rain. It's a little cooler, 64 in St. Paul on CCO.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
I heard you're back together, and if that's true, you'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. If you want forever, I bet you do. Just know you'll taste me too.
All right, I want to understand a little bit more about these circumstances where you have federal charges, you have state charges. If you're an attorney, why would you take a plea? Why do prosecutors offer a plea in this situation? Our friend Mike Bryant, a terrific attorney here in the Twin Cities, Bradshaw and Bryant. He joins us on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline. Mike, thanks for being here.
Good afternoon, Jason.
Well, it obviously is, you know, for me, it brings back, this guilty plea does bring back all of the emotions of that day almost a year ago. It is a heavy day for those who work in politics and for those who love this state. It is a reminder of just that horrific 48 hours and that horrific moment in our history.
Yeah, and for Lisa, I knew Melissa real well, and it just, it's a horrible thing to have something like that happen, and still really no understanding of why.
Yeah, I think that's the most frustrating thing when you have a plea deal and you don't have a full trial. Of course, I've covered plenty of trials. You've been an attorney in plenty of trials where you have a full trial and you still are not left with any real understanding of the truth as to what motivates people, right?
Right, correct, yeah. And, that's but I mean, I don't know if there'd be any answer anybody would go, well, yeah, that makes sense. But, it's still a crazy thing. And I don't know, it's another sad example of, some of the things that are going on in the world.
Let's talk a little bit about why there is sort of two trials. There's this federal trial that we had. Why in a case like this can somebody be charged federally and also face to an outsider what feels like the same bit on the state level?
because there's different claims that are being made or different crimes that are being committed. There's a federal crime with the terroristic act or the political act that took place. And originally the thought was the feds got involved. And what happens when the feds get involved, they can preempt, which means they can take it over. And that comes into play. And so they got involved, and originally it was thought they got involved because there was going to be a death penalty part to this, because we don't have the death penalty in the state, and they were able to do that federally. Then a deal got made, and the deal basically was no death penalty in return for the sentence for life. And because of that, it made sense for the defendant because he was facing a death penalty. Then the question came up, well, why are the feds involved? And there's a conspiracy side to it, that they were trying to control the narrative so that it didn't look political as it could have. There's also the outside discussion out there of whether or not he could then be pardoned because it's a federal crime. A president can pardon a federal crime where the governor can only pardon a state crime. I couldn't even comprehend that as a possibility with what took place in this case. So I'm
with you. I mean, I understand the conspiracy side of that. And look, let's be real. With the federal government right now, almost there's no such thing as inconceivable. But to me, that seems like people looking a little too hard to put the tinfoil hat on.
Yeah. It seems I couldn't comprehend the thought of a pardon there. But I don't think he has any kind of ties that would indicate something like that, where, there's been people who've kind of bought their pardons over history, as far as what's taken place there. But it does make you question why the feds got involved if they weren't going to just say, no, we're going to go for the death penalty no matter what. But they are. Now, it kind of makes the state case unimportant. The state can do a couple of things. One, the state can just kind of accept that the feds are taking it over and just let them have it. They could continue on just so they can get the conviction in state court, just to basically have a conviction. Then if something did happen, it's kind of the reverse of what happened with Chauvin, where he was convicted in state court, and then they convicted him in federal court, and they went ahead and executed the federal court part of it, so he's in a federal prison. But the state sentence is still out there, so that if something did happen, or there was some weird thing that happened, that he was pardoned, or something happened with the federal charge, you'd still have the state charges there to keep him in prison for the rest of his life. So he's in prison for the rest of his life. I don't see that'll ever change. He can, try to do some way off into the future, but I don't think that'll change as far as what the facts go.
Mike Bryant is with us. Bradshaw and Bryant, criminal defense attorney. Mike, when you look at the state prosecution now, if you're Vance Boelter, why wouldn't you take a plea deal at the state level? At this point, what's the difference? Unless you wanted to have the platform of getting on the stand and, going through whatever was in his supposed manifesto.
Yeah, and that's a possibility that he may decide that no. Although the reality is, with the sentence he's already gotten in federal prison with the life, it's unexpected. There'll probably just be a sentencing and a plea in the sentencing, and there'll be not much else as far as the state goes. But it's possible he has a right to do that, and if he does, then you might have him wanting to take the stand to make some statement one way or the other.
In this case, the federal officials, there was some conflicting reporting over the last couple of days as to whether this case would have qualified for the death penalty. The U.S. attorney today said, no, I think, if we went to trial and got a guilty verdict, that he thinks it still might be death penalty eligible. At a certain point, I guess you have to weigh, and in all of these cases, you're weighing, is it worth putting the families through all of this stuff when you can at least say, look, this guy's going to be locked up forever?
Yeah. The death penalty is a tough thing for lots of people. A lot of people are opposed to it overall.
And we don't know what the victims' families in this case. We don't know where they were on this, right?
And so based upon that, that you're right. I mean, you save the family having to go through it. You get the sentencing, and he ends up going to prison. I've seen some people complain about the 40 years, but I mean, it's his life. He's going to be in there for life, and it's not. It's. I don't think that's a concern as far as it goes. It's just a number that's being used to facilitate that.
Appreciate the insight. It is
absolutely.
It is a sad day, but we appreciate you sharing a little information about that, Mike Bryant. Thank you.
Anytime. Take care. Bye.
It is 3:46. It's one text, and I asked you guys to weigh in, and you can weigh in throughout the show on this at 651-461-9226, sort of this question of what has changed. And I just wanted to share this text because this has changed with me too. And it's the idea that in the middle of the night, if a solitary police officer came to my door, I would have answered the door. I have a Ring camera at my door. I would have seen in the dark of night. Would I have seen the detail? Probably not. I'm reaching for my glasses. I'm trying to take a look, whatever. But if there's today a single police officer at my door, I am calling 911. I just am. There's no way that I'm answering the door unless I called police. But if it's a knock on the door, I am for sure calling 911 today to verify that this is indeed an actual police officer. And Dennis from Anoka texted about that and said, I should be able to request a second officer come or call the station to verify if someone's at the door. And indeed, you should and you can. Now, if you get pulled over, I think it's generally obvious. But if somebody comes to your door, I'm calling 911, and I think you should too. And that's sad, right? But it is just a reality as to something that we're all aware of now. Let's break. In a minute, we're going to switch it up. And I wanted to switch to something a little lighter, but I don't know if this qualifies, Dan, because I love this state. I love this state. I love Minnesota. Crushing defeat for the state of Minnesota when it comes to lakes. Are we done as the land of 10,000 lakes? Are we an also-ran? Are we a has-been? Are we dried up when it comes to lakes? 3 national lists, 30 lakes on these lists. We just had one. Why are Minnesota lakes such a disappointment? We'll talk about it when we come back.
Drive Time with DeRusha is fueled by Luther Kia of Bloomington. Go see Dan Dingman and the crew today, or always online at lutherkiaofbloomington.com.
In the military, the mission was clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Here's the tale of the daily med fill. Same old pharmacy, same old bill, but those prices kept rising higher still.
Till the savings wrangler rode in, cool as can be. Tap Good RX, saving massively.
No plan? Don't matter none. Up to 80% off. Deals are done.
Discounts hitting harder than Ma's chili. Dang. That one little app does all the rest.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check Good RX. Good RX is not insurance.
Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, Rockstar. Let's look at your account.
When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything.
Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Slowdowns in place, Minneapolis, South 94 as you come down from Highway 55 into Lowry Hill Tunnel. West 94, that continues to be a slow ride. Riverside into the Tube. Traveling crosstown eastbound, got your slowdowns there, Gleason, heading out 235W. 169 southbound, congestion in play between 494 and Pioneer Trail. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
All right, CCO forecast. We got a lot of rain still all over the metro area right now. The downtown, 494 loop looks dry, but light rain falling in St. Michael and Buffalo and Annandale and up by North Branch, Center City, Taylor's Falls. So kind of rain around the fringes. That rain will be fading as the night goes on. Low of 57. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, scattered showers possible Friday night. High of 80. Saturday, partly cloudy and 73. Are you guys ready for partly cloudy and 73 after this scorcher of a week? Hell yes. Right now in downtown Minneapolis, out the weather window, it's dry. So that's nice. 65. 65. I'm wearing long sleeves here on CC.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha.
That's my favorite thing to do. It is one of my 2 or 3 favorite things to do, whether it's in the office, it's in town. It doesn't matter. There's nothing better.
On News Talk 830 WCCO.
Someone pour me up a double shot of whiskey. They know me and Jack Daniels got a history.
Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes. We had a good run. But it's over. Dan, it's over.
I mean, it was a good run.
We have been known throughout the land as Lake Central, right? Well, I shouldn't say that. You know what we're known as around the rest of the country? Nothing. Probably nothing. If you ask people, I don't want to ask our listeners what they think. I will ask in Chicago this weekend. I'm going to Chicago this weekend. I will ask random people, when you hear Minnesota, what do you think? What do you think people are going to say?
Cold.
Probably.
I think that's going to be the most.
You can text him with that. 651-461-9226. What is Minnesota known for around the country? Probably cold, number 1. Number 2, terrible sports team.
In Chicago, that might be a response.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think if you get too far out of the NFC North, the second answer is also cold.
Last time I was in Chicago was, at least out and about, was before the presidential election. So people were asking me about Tim Walz. There were a lot of questions about Tim Walz. Do you think today?
I think there still are a lot of questions about Tim Walz.
Mark says fraud.
Yeah.
Fraud. I wonder if people do they have that on their their ringtone? Texters, fraud, bad politics. The what are we known for? I think is a solid question. I always thought of us as the land of 10,000 lakes. Maybe we're known for the state fair. Pete in Bloomington, what do you think? What do you think we're known for?
I get away from Minnesota a few times a year, and people, you talk to them. Where are you from? What do you do? That kind of thing.
Right.
And if you mention Minnesota, and first thing out of their mouths, 99 times out of 100 is, oh, the state that's losing all their money to fraud.
Yeah.
That's what we're known for.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I think that's probably
that is the response I get.
Yeah. I think that's probably I don't know, Pete. I think it's in the top 3 of what things people know. I think Dan's right. I think people think of us as cold first. If you're like hardcore politics person, if you spend a lot of time watching Fox News, for sure, fraud.
All news.
Earned reputation by us to a certain degree.
And it's global. It's when I travel out of the country, same thing.
Yeah.
You hear Minnesota, they think fraud.
All right,
They think mismanagement and that kind of thing.
Thanks, Pete. Probably. I don't know. I'd like to see some market research. I feel like when people say this, it's because they self-select the people they're hanging out with.
Bingo.
But I don't know. Maybe it is. I think it's certainly.
Well, and even if it is right now,
I would say we're mostly known for nothing. Most people don't know us. 2, it's cold. 3, maybe fraud. Yeah.
Right now.
It's been in the news.
5 years ago, no. 5 years from now.
But
no.
if you hang out with liberal people, you're known for like you guys stuck it to Trump and ICE.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, of those two things, which holds an edge? Well, we're not going to be known for lakes anymore. USA Today, which has, I mean, you know, you kind of, if you turn around, odds are good you're going to run into one of those 10 best lists that the USA Today publishes. Do they even have a newspaper, or is it just 10 best lists is all they're doing?
I mean, it's working for them.
3 lists about lakes. Best lake. Best lake. What lake do you think in Minnesota would be on the best lake list?
There's 2 that leap to mind.
Okay.
Either Lake Minnetonka or Mille Lacs.
Lake Superior is our only entry.
I mean, I get it, but come on.
No.
It's a great lake. I get it, but it's more of a sea than a lake.
Lake Havasu is on here. When I hear Lake Havasu, I just think about spring break. It's like MTV 1989. Hot babes in bikinis, like a sexual awakening for teenage Jason. That's what I think about.
Making some poor decisions, yeah.
Lake Mendota. Lake Mendota is number 6. Lake Mendota is pretty good. Got to be honest. Don't you think? I mean, you're the king of Madison. You love Madison.
It's really, I mean, yeah.
But it's not the lake. It's
the isthmus, right? I mean, it's 2 lakes there, and,
yeah.
and it's the bit in between that really makes the whole bit.
That's it, though. We got skunked. Lake Superior is our only. Come on. It's terrible. That's not even a Minnesota lake. Best lakeside beach. Yeah, we don't have great lakeside beaches.
No, that's true.
Best lake for water sports. Minnetonka's pretty great.
Yeah.
For water sports. What about like the home of water skiing? Lake Pepin, which also isn't really a lake. Maybe our lakes suck. Continental Diamond time is 3:58.
Lemonade! Fresh squeezed lemonade! Lemonade? Oh, nuts.
Is your business struggling to be seen? Not reaching the right customers?
Yeah.
Odyssey's here to help. Your one-stop shop for digital marketing.
Wait, really?
With targeted digital media, plus SEO, SEM, social, OTT, and more, we help your business reach the right audience and drive results.
Whoa, hey, one at a time.
Stop missing out on valuable customers. Visit digitallocalads.com to learn more about our local advertising solutions. That's digitallocalads.com.
Okay, people, line starts here.
Gas prices are up. Luther Kia of Bloomington is there for you. It's Jason DeRusha. I love my Kia, and I love Dan Dingman and his team, plus their brand new facility. More room, more service bays, more Kia excellence. EVs, hybrids, the red hot 2027 Telluride. I just test drove it. It is awesome. Get to 35W and 494 and check out 0% financing on Sportages and Sorrentos at Luther Kia of Bloomington.com.
Your news, your voice, your station. News Talk 830 WCCO 1029 HD2 Minneapolis, St. Paul.
From ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. The 3-month-long war with Iran and recent escalations despite a ceasefire could give way to a permanent deal. President Trump says leaders have approved final points on a peace agreement and says he's calling off tonight's scheduled strikes against Iran. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has more.
What we heard the president say is that he has just spoken to the Prime Minister of Israel, the heads of Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, will soon be talking to Turkey. He said the Strait of Hormuz will be open. He mentioned that the U.S. has been engaged in what had been secret missions to take ships, oil tankers, out of the Strait of Hormuz, transiting them through to the global marketplace.
A source with knowledge of the negotiations tells ABC News the deal is very close as mediators hit some breakthroughs. On the heels of this week's inflation report showing consumer prices are at a 3-year high, the Producer Price Index shows wholesale prices jumped 6.5% in May from the previous year. President Trump has nominated former SEC Chair Jay Clayton to be the next Director of National Intelligence. Current acting director Bill Pulte has received bipartisan backlash, including House and Senate lawmakers rejecting measures to extend FISA's wiretap tool to monitor foreign threats. Democratic Senator Adam Schiff on Clayton's nomination.
It doesn't solve the Pulte problem. It doesn't solve the 702 problem, simply naming Jay Clayton, but I'm sure that Clayton will eventually be given fair consideration.
FISA 702 expires tomorrow. Celebrations in New York City over the New York Knicks' Game 4 win against the San Antonio Spurs last night led to unrest outside Madison Square Garden. The NYPD says they arrested more than 50 people. Game 5 is Saturday. And the FIFA World Cup kicked off today with Mexico taking on South Africa in the first match in Mexico City. It all leads up to tomorrow night's match in Los Angeles between the U.S. and Paraguay. The U.S., Mexico, and Canada are hosting the World Cup. You're listening to ABC News.
Minnesota's trusted voice every hour. Let's get you caught up with what's happening now on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Mostly cloudy, 70 degrees at 4:02. I'm Laura Oakes. A surprising change of plea for Vance Boelter in federal court.
Dressed in a bright orange sweatshirt and sweatpants and shackled at the ankles, Vance Boelter avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty to the murders of Mark and Melissa Hortman and the shootings of John and Yvette Hoffman. Boelter spoke periodically throughout the hearing, acknowledging facts of the case. Under terms of the agreement, he's expected to serve 2 consecutive life sentences, followed by 40 years in federal prison. No sentencing date has been set. Outside the federal courthouse in downtown Minneapolis, Mark Fry, News Talk 830 WCCO.
Vance Boelter now faces back-to-back life sentences following that federal plea deal. As a state trial still looms, U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen.
When you have a defendant that is prepared to plead guilty, take consecutive life terms plus to ensure that he never sees freedom again in his entire life, that was an opportunity that we just could not pass up.
The children of Mark and Melissa Hortman releasing a statement in response to the guilty plea today.
The statement reads in part, "There is no justice for Mark and Melissa, and there is no justice when our family and our state will never truly heal." The statement went on to say, "The choice we've made is to go forward with public service and being present for our community. The opportunity to justice is for Minnesotans and Americans to serve, is to treat people with respect, to stop dehumanizing each other, and stop dividing our country with hate and rhetoric." Susie Jones, News Talk 830 WCCO.
A strike date is set for Target Field concessions workers.
Local 17 has set a June 22nd date to picket. At the moment, the strike is scheduled for just 1 day, but workers are prepared to go longer if necessary. Secretary Treasurer Shay Freeberg.
We're keeping open the possibility of striking more games or an open-ended strike if Delaware North continues to not take this seriously.
In a statement released by Delaware North, they say they fully intend to continue full-service concessions at Target Field should there be a strike, something Freeberg says may be a stretch.
And I think if you're a fan and you're intent on coming to the game, you should bring your own food, because there will not be food available for you to purchase.
Talks continue. Ari Bergeron, News Talk 830 WCCO.
Another delay in the redevelopment plan for George Floyd Square in South Minneapolis. The city council today voting to reject Mayor Jacob Fry's proposal to award the People's Way project on the site of a former Speedway gas station to the Minnesota Agape movement. Some council members have expressed concerns about Agape's ability to manage the project and say input from the public was discounted. WCCO News Times, 4:05.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Slowdown is place traveling eastbound 694 as you come away from Central Avenue heading out to Highway 10. 35W northbound slows from 694 to Highway 10 in that stretch. And if you're on the south side, 494 eastbound plugged up as you make way between Highway 100 and Portland Avenue. Traveling 35E northbound, got some slowing and make way past West 7th heading up toward Wheelock Parkway. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCL.
We got a show and it's guys and dolls at Chanhassen Dinner Theaters, and it's a knockout. The Pioneer Press called it a must-see. Star Tribune called it blazing with brilliance. You got gamblers, romance, and show-stopping tunes. Guys and dolls, visit ChanhassenDP.com.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
Brought to you by the Chanhassen Dinner Theater, the must-see show Guys and Dolls on stage now. Get your tickets at chanhassendt.com. Here's WCCO TV Chief Meteorologist Chris Schaefer.
The rain moves out this evening, then the clouds move out, down to 57 overnight tonight. Plenty of sunshine tomorrow. That'll be the warmest day with a high up near 80. There will be a bit of a breeze from the west-southwest, 10 to 15 miles per hour. A few scattered showers are possible from the Twin Cities down into southern Minnesota in the evening. Weekend looks dry, partly cloudy, and 73 both days.
Mostly cloudy right now, 70 degrees at News Talk 830 WCCO.
Minnesota's meeting spot to hear what's going on. News Talk 830 WCCO. Good questions. Topics you'll probably talk about at dinner. Places to go for dinner. This is the Ride Home Reimagined. Welcome to Drive Time with DeRusha. Thanks to Luther Kia of Bloomington. Now, here's Jason DeRusha.
Had a drag show at City Hall this morning, and I have mixed feelings about it. 651-461-9226. On the one hand, I have no problem with a drag show. I think social conservatives get their undies in a bunch over drag shows, and nobody's grooming anybody at a drag show. It's people dressed up. It's nothing. It's nothing. And so, as part of Pride Month, having a drag show is fine. Having a drag show in City Hall at 8 a.m., I mean, it's a little early for a drag show for me, but what? I get, it's sort of a whatever to me, except for this. Why is the celebration of pride in this country still so sexually coded circus-like? 651-461-9226. It, to me, is the absolute opposite of what led to the single biggest change in this state when you think about how we view gay rights. And the biggest change to me in my 23 years here was the rejection of the marriage amendment, where they were trying to define marriage as only between a man and a woman, which led to legalizing same-sex marriage. And the way that that was done was by showing Minnesotans that same-sex couples have the exact same love that opposite-sex couples have. It was about showing the trueness of the love, the normalness of these relationships. But then when it's Pride time, it's like, here's, and I'm looking at these pictures in the Star Tribune. Here's drag performer Stardust with the city council president. Here's Hunky Dory. I mean, it's a little where, why are we doing this? I don't understand what the goal is, what the To me, if I were, and I'd be very curious, if you are in a committed same-sex relationship, which I would just call a relationship, if you're in a committed relationship, two men, two women, is this how you think about pride? That's sort of where I struggle with it. It's the question of, why do we have to over-sexualize this? Why do we have to turn it into the, I don't want to say the freak show, but it sort of gives that vibe, doesn't it? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Jonathan is on the CCO Talk and Text line. Jonathan, I've been to a drag brunch before. It's fun. It's entertaining. I don't think it's any big deal, but it is, to me, it feels a little bit, it's such a contrast to how we led to actual improvement when you look at rights of gay people in this state.
Right. And good afternoon. And if you're going to play my theme song, that would be a good time there, Dan. Let me push back on you for a little bit.
Sure.
And I was a little upset with you last week, and it wasn't about you specifically. It was more about the conversation about men or trans women in basketball or sports or any of that. Okay, so maybe some of your resentment towards the drag queen experience at the Capitol or wherever they're doing it, it may be that you may not know anybody, that you may not understand who they are. And when the people that come out as trans or as, I want to say, drag queens, they were the ones that started the movement in 1969 or 1967 with the Stonewall riots in New York. Now, the times that we are in, I say if you can get out there and throw poop in somebody's face, go right ahead to make them wake up. And that is why they are doing this. But should it be done on government property? No. Go to a bar.
Yeah.
And I really want to explain it to you so that you can understand it. With me being who I am, and I turned your radio show off for the first time in probably 4 years. And I don't know if it was more me being angry at you or me being angry at myself. And I really hope for you, when you go to Pride this year, that you can actually go up to somebody and say, hey, can I talk to you about how you feel and what is going on? I really would. And not just the happy Jason. And believe me, I have my own internalized homophobia. And believe me, I really hope that everything goes well in this city. And what I can also tell you is if there are protesters here, don't. There's enough crap, part of my expression.
Yeah.
There's enough crap being thrown at the LGBTQIA community every single day with this person in charge. If you want to know why they're doing this, that's why.
Yeah.
And I rest my case.
Thanks, Jonathan. No, and I feel that, like, look, it's certainly, depending on where you are, it's more personal. And I do think that Jonathan's right, like talking to people, getting their experience, getting that perspective, it leads to greater understanding. The question that I have, and Jonathan said he didn't think it was a good idea to have it in government property. I actually have no problem with having this in City Hall. I don't think, I disagree with the idea that people act, and there are some I saw on social media, some guy, the mayor was at this and had his kids, and this guy comes up with a video camera and is like, do you think it's appropriate to have your kids? And you sort of want to say, screw you to this guy, like leave the mayor's kids out of it. Acting like, have any of you ever been to a Broadway show? Like dressing in drag, it's come on. It's fine. It's fine. No one goes to a drag show and then they're like, oh no, I was straight and now I want to be trans. Like, be serious. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I think people have this idea that like, oh no, this is sort of the obsession with this idea that kids are being groomed, I think tells more about the people who are obsessed with that topic. So like, I reject all of that stuff. My curiosity is more as we read more and more about the fact that Americans' acceptance of gay people is on the decline. Do we care about that? Do we care about turning that around? Is there a way we can educate and change people's views on this? And to me, I look at the most successful way of changing people's views on this. I feel like we are going in a positive direction because to me, love is love. And if consenting adults, whatever they want to do, I got other things to worry about. You know what I mean? I have no problem with any of that. And you don't know what you don't know. So for many people, if you've never been exposed to gay people or trans people, you don't know. And it's understandable to be afraid or to have views that were maybe colored by your religious upbringing. I have worked with, I had a coworker at Channel 4 who is a trans woman. She's awesome. Awesome coworker. I'm just not sure that by leaning in to the most, I guess now that I think about it, it depends what your goal is. If your goal is just to celebrate whatever you want to celebrate, then by all means do it. If you do think, especially by doing something in City Hall, that you do have the opportunity to impact people and to change people's views. And does this help? I'm not sure. Lots of texts coming in. Keep it coming. This texter says, I'm a straight man, Minneapolis resident, have been to several drag shows and enjoyed them. I had the same feeling as you. Why in City Hall? That's sort of what I'm struggling with. 651-461-9226. Drive Time with DeRusha. Back in just a minute.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Jason here with a suggestion about a store that maybe you've never been to that I think you are absolutely going to love. It's J.H. & Sons at the Galleria in Edina. J.H. & Sons is where the shirt I'm wearing right now, long sleeve polo shirt, cashmere, J.H. & Sons. J.H. & Sons has incredible men's suits. So if you're going back to work or you've got a wedding coming up or a special event, get over there. Experience it. J.H. & Sons has amazing service. Chuck and Dean and Bryce and Alicia and the whole crew over there, they will take care of you because they know men's clothing. They've been selling it for years and years. They know the best lines, the best fabrics, the clothing that's going to make you feel your best, look your best. That extra confidence, that extra swagger, you deserve it. Online, you can sign up for their email list. It's jhnSons.com, but it's best experienced in the store. Galleria in Edina. The Halberstadt family, they have been making men look amazing in Minnesota for more than 50 years. Let them do it for you. jhnSons.com.
At Wealth Enhancement, we believe wealth is in the details. Our team of trusted advisors craft personalized solutions to help you achieve your financial goals. Tune in to the Your Money Show on News Talk 830 WCCO every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. or go to wealthenhancement.com to connect with one of our advisors.
Let me tell you something about insurance. When you sign your insurance policy, for some brokers, that's the finish line. Handshake, commission, done. Then you may not hear from them again until it's time for renewal. But your business runs all year, so do the gaps and the risk. So go to supersure.com. If your company has more than 25 employees, whether you're the owner, CFO, or HR manager, it can be too complex to just go buy a policy online. Supersure is the super agency built for you, licensed in every state for your business insurance and employee benefits, all with year-round support for you and your team. At supersure.com, you can access tools like fine print facts. It'll translate your current policy into plain English so you see what's covered and what's not. Plus a business value calculator so you can estimate what your business is worth so you know what actually needs protecting. Go to supersure.com. One super agency, one powerful platform, all your policies in one place. Supersure.com. That's supersure.com. Paid for by Supersure Insurance Agency, LLC, a licensed insurance agency.
Gas prices are up. Luther Kia of Bloomington is there for you. It's Jason DeRusha. I love my Kia, and I love Dan Dingman and his team, plus their brand new facility. More room, more service bays, more Kia excellence. EVs, hybrids, the red hot 2027 Telluride. I just test drove it. It is awesome. Get to 35W and $494 and check out 0% financing on Sportages and Sorrentos at LutherKiaofBloomington.com.
Your daily detour into sharper conversation. Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
She knows what I think about and what I think about. Just eyes, you find out.
Really good text messages coming in. I'll be honest, I was a little worried. I'm like, I don't know. Like, is this a good topic to talk about? Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to turn drag shows into like some sort of enemy, some sort of boogeyman where people are like, because it's utter nonsense and ridiculous. This idea that a drag show is designed to like manipulate and screw that. Like, that is so stupid. And what are we doing? And a texter says this: my BFF are a gay guy couple or a guy gay couple. She's either way. They love drag shows for some reason. I find it offensive and just plain cringy as a heterosexual woman. We spent all this effort to not be that. But my friends love the idea of fooling someone into thinking they are a woman. Another texter: Jason, the question you posed is exactly the thing that's been bothering me. Thanks for raising it. I don't understand the public acting out of alternative sexuality. It seems unnecessary, and it only makes for bad vibes about the LGBTQ lifestyles among people who are less tolerant. And at a certain point, like, it's an interesting question, right? Like, do you have an obligation to try to bring along people who are intolerant? And to a certain degree, the answer is no. No, it's not your job to bring the bigots around. It's not your job. And we all make choices. Do you want, are we making things better or not? Texters saying, is the goal to change people's opinion or to have mutual respect for each other? Those two can both happen together. Does a drag show in City Hall do anything to move the needle on any of that? I don't think so. And I do think it's fair to wonder, in a city that is very left, is this... My initial thought was, why are they doing it at City Hall? Because they can. And I understand the idea of like trying to reclaim public areas where maybe people weren't welcome at one point. I think there's value in that. But this also reeks a little bit of like, this is really going to piss off certain people. And that would be fun. And that would be great. Kind of this owning that this is the Minneapolis opportunity to, or equivalent of like the owning of the libs that people on the right try to do. I don't know. I think it's important to know that we are in a time right now where acceptance of gay rights is on the way down. And I think a lot of us where we live we're all surrounded in our bubbles. And my bubble is people of all different sexuality. There is no bigotry or hatred or homophobia. Well, I'm sure there's some, but there's no outward. But the data is pretty clear that people are less accepting right now. Part of that is because they have permission, right? Like the governmental structure right now is, although I think Donald Trump is not exactly known as being unfriendly to gay people, but the policies have been. I don't know, it's just for me, it's a strange phenomenon. And seeing it in City Hall today just made me think, is there a goal? Is there a goal? Is there a reason? And to me, it doesn't make a ton of sense. It doesn't make a ton of sense. Texters, there are some texters writing in from sort of their moral standpoint. And I get it. Like, everybody gets to have your own morality. There are plenty of religions that have, as a religion, have clear views as to what they think the proper relationship is. For me, like, man, when you see love, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And seeing love, whether it's a man and a woman, two men, two women, who cares, man? Like, love is beautiful. And it's pretty simple for me to think that through. Texter says, I think you have to be careful about conflating acceptance of gay people, gay families, and drag shows. Drag shows are very often over the top, overtly sexual, and not anywhere close to being appropriate for children and not family friendly. I guess that's your decision as a parent if you think it's appropriate for your kids. Texters say drag is an art form unless it has an agenda. So maybe that's actually a very good text, because maybe that is getting to what feels a little uncomfortable about this to me. The fact that it's at City Hall, because again, to be clear, I have no problem with drag shows, and I reject those who want to turn it into some sort of political thing. It's an art form unless it has an agenda. Now, art can have an agenda, so I don't fully agree with this idea that it's an art form unless it has an agenda. I think it's an art form, and in this case, did have an agenda. And the question is, what was the agenda? What were we doing today? Let's break. It's 4:28. We had Amy Klobuchar's lieutenant governor candidate on the show Friday, right? Last Friday. And when you do that, then you think like, well, I guess we better invite every lieutenant governor candidate. I have been on record saying that no one cares about lieutenant governors. Nobody cares. It does not matter unless the lieutenant governor is a train wreck, and then they become an issue. We're going to talk with Ryan Wilson. He is the lieutenant governor candidate on Lisa Damoth's ticket. And we'll ask him how he sees his role and if he thinks it really makes a difference when you're looking at the election. So that conversation coming up live in just a minute here on Drive Time.
Drive Time with DeRusha, tuned up and rolling. Thanks to Luther Kia of Bloomington.
Let's talk about selling your home, and let's talk about the market, because again, today I was reading that more and more people are struggling when they put their home on the open market, and that is why so many people are reaching out to Chris Lindahl. It's Jason here for my friend Chris Lindahl. I've known Chris for a long time. He is a Minnesotan. You see him on the billboard, arms wide out. But Chris is an innovator. He's a survivor. He's one of us. And he's come up with a great idea that is a solution for more and more people out there. The guaranteed cash offer lets you avoid fixing up things in your house that need to be fixed. Lets you avoid you don't even have to pack all this stuff up. You don't even have to pack all this stuff up. Chris Lindahl takes on all the stress, all the pressure. No big check going out for agent commission either. It's all part of the big, fat red check that you're going to get from chrislindahl.com. You want a big red check. You want a guaranteed cash off, and you've got to get to chrislindahl.com. Get a free smart seller guide. Read it before you list. So even if you're thinking about it, get to chrislindahl.com today.
John, Kim, based on your current budget, I recommend cutting back on unnecessary luxuries. Like what? Groceries beyond bread and water, gas above half a tank, streaming channels that don't have the show The Pit, and pretty much name brand anything.
Whoa, but what about Twins tickets?
Oh, those are fine. I mean, they're free with Twins Ticket Tuesday on CCO.
Okay.
Your portfolio may be struggling. Your summer doesn't have to. No interest, no payments, just baseball with Twins Ticket Tuesday on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Right now, Linda's Construction is offering free installation on labor on GAF asphalt shingles, Leaf Guard brand gutters, and siding. Just call 844-9-LINDAS, LINDUS, or on the web at lindasconstruction.com.
Curtis James of Bear Market Financial Services.
We have to understand that the things that got us here might not be the things that get us forward. And now it's not just what our money's invested in, but why. And I think this is a pretty big mistake that a lot of people make is they stay in that kind of growth mindset that they've been in for the last 20, 30 years. They just never stop to kind of reposition and refocus that thought process.
Retirement Simplified with Curtis James, Sunday evenings at 6 on WCCO.
For all the things you have to do and places you need to be, let Uber take you there. Because you had just one more 3 rounds ago. Because the 5 a.m. flight seemed like a good idea at the time. Because check engine lights always appear at the worst possible times. And because parking downtown is a nightmare. Because there are nights out, airport trips, and car troubles in your area, there are drivers in your area. Uber. Request a ride today. Wait time varies. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Staples presents Celebrations Made Easy.
I was throwing a party for the twins and had custom invites and a banner printed at Staples. And that's when I saw Party City is now at Staples.
Party City? No way!
Yep. So now Staples has all your printing needs and everything you need for a party.
Everything times 2.
Yeah. And now at Staples, save 40% on custom cards, photo gifts, wrapping paper, banners, and more.
Big news. Party City is now at Staples.
That was easy.
Shop Staples in-store, online, or on the app. In 613. Exclusions apply.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Still stuff in place. 494 northbound Rockford Road up into the Fish Lake interchange. 35W southbound, get ready for slowdowns pretty much right through downtown Minneapolis. You head down to the crosstown. 494 westbound, a slow ride. Lindale heading up to Highway 100. East 494, watching slowdowns there past Highway 3 over to Highway 61. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
Hungry? Go to Dickey's Barbecue Pit of Egan for real Texas barbecue. All meats smoked fresh in-house daily. You can dine in, take out, have it delivered, or have your event catered anywhere in the metro. Just go to Dickeys.com. Dickey's Barbecue Pit of Egan, the Twin Cities catering leader.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
All right, forecast brought to you by Dickey's Barbecue Pit of Egan, Twin Cities catering leader at Dickeys.com. Here is Chief Meteorologist Chris Schaefer.
We'll catch a break from the rain later on this evening. The clouds will be clearing out overnight tonight, falling back to 57. Plenty of sunshine tomorrow. There'll be a bit of a breeze, but it'll be a warm day with a high up near 80. This weekend will be cooler, but fairly pleasant. Partly cloudy, 73 both days with a northwest wind coming 10 to 15.
If you're in the 494 loop and you had a little bit of a break from the rain, get ready. It's coming at you again. There is lots of rain all throughout St. Cloud, Minneapolis, and down towards Faribault. Right now, it is a little cooler, 63 degrees on CCO.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha.
I think it's absolutely flawless. Whoever's idea was that is a genius.
On News Talk 830 WCCO.
I can feel something heavy on my heart. I can feel something's tearing me apart. I can feel that you got me through the dark. I can feel the love tonight. Oh, I can feel something heavy on my heart. I can feel.
All right, so we've been inviting some of the different candidates on the show so you can get a chance to hear from them, learn more about their views, their attitude, the issues that are important to them. And last Friday, we had Senator Amy Klobuchar on, and Klobuchar had her running mate, Ben Shire, who is the former mayor of Fergus Falls. And so we wanted to share that same opportunity with some of the other lieutenant governor candidates out there. And so we bring in Ryan Wilson, who is running with Lisa Damuth. He's on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker hotline. Ryan, thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, you have run before for a statewide office in Minnesota. You almost became the first Republican since Tim Pawlenty to win a statewide office when you ran for state auditor. What made you say, you know what, I want to give this lieutenant governor thing a shot as opposed to maybe giving it another shot for auditor?
That auditor race showed me that, Minnesotans are pretty evenly divided here in Minnesota. We came within 8,000 votes of winning, 0.3%. And if you look at our legislature, whether that be the Senate or the House, we're a 50-50 state. And I thought about running again, other offices, what else to do. I'm also an attorney that does a lot of work in the Supreme Court and was involved with Lisa in some of the quorum cases. You might remember when the Democrats weren't showing up for work. And when I heard that she was thinking about getting in, I said, what can I do? Whatever I can do to help you. You are an A-plus candidate. You're the kind of person that we need that can win statewide for Republicans, that can bring people together, appeal to a broad base. And when she asked me to run with her, I said, I'm all in. I wasn't thinking about at that time running for anything. And I said, how can I help you? And she wanted me to join. And then I went home and asked my wife. She said yes. And then I said, I'm all in. So,
today, Ryan, as we have the Vance Boelter guilty plea, it does have me thinking about just running for office in general and how different the environment, at least how different it feels. I don't know if it is what it has to be after what happened to Melissa Hortman and Mark Hortman and to the Hoffmans and then, two other elected officials. I mean, do you think about that at all? I certainly think about those things a little differently today than I would have 1 year ago.
You talked a little bit about the rhetoric yesterday, and Lisa obviously knew very well Melissa Hortman. They worked together, disagreed on politics, but they knew how to work together very well in the legislature. So, obviously, these events that come up, and we're coming up on the anniversary here, is it's a difficult time for Lisa. And obviously, as we've gone through this last year, I mean, there are people that have been arrested because of death threats towards the Speaker Damuth, and so that's out there. And so, do I think about it a lot? You just kind of got to put your head down and keep plowing ahead. And
your wife didn't say, "Are you sure you want to put the family through this?"
Those were conversations we had, and at the end of the day, it's something you've got to be concerned about.
What do you owe her, Ryan? What do you owe her now that she said it's okay for you to run?
Oh, that's a long list. We don't have enough time for that.
Ryan,
I learned my lesson. I came over when I ran for the first time. I said, hey, I'm running for this thing called auditor. Not a lot of people heard about it. Don't worry about it. It won't be a lot of work. Needless to say, it was a lot of work. It was fun, and I enjoyed it. But this time I promised we'd talk first about it, and so we did.
When you look at the role of a lieutenant governor, I think Peggy Flanagan was the first lieutenant governor, really, where at least from the initial time they ran, there was talk about she was going to have more of a substantive role in the administration. I feel like there's always conversations about that. But then when you look at it, you're like, does the lieutenant governor really matter? Does this job really matter? How do you see yourself contributing, Ryan?
I think it does. And here's why. And it's one of the things that Lisa and I spoke about early on and continue to speak about is how can I be helpful? And I've also spoken with, past governors in Minnesota, and they've shared some ideas. And, for me, Lisa, one of the things that we talked about me doing is jumping on this fraud issue. And you've seen a little bit of the vice president doing this as of late, right, leading the task force at the federal level. Well, weeks before that, Lisa and I had put out a plan where, my job is going to be working cross agencies, right, making sure that when problems are getting solved in one agency, that those lessons learned are being imported into other agencies. So I ran a business early in my career before I focused on practicing law. I started a company and grew it. And so I know a little something about running organizations. And being able to get people to talk and to work together, especially in big bureaucracies like government, that can be a key role of a lieutenant governor, somebody to focus on that kind of intra-agency sharing and making sure that we're rooting out fraud. And the other big thing is, we're going to work really hard to get Minnesota growing again. a lot of our problems that we have in the state, whether it be affordability or high taxes or all this stuff, it goes back to we haven't been growing. The people haven't been coming to Minnesota, they've been leaving Minnesota, and everything kind of falls apart. It just doesn't work when you're not growing your base of people and growing your tax base. And so we're going to turn that around. We got lots of plans on that, ways to make Minnesota more affordable. But one of the things as Lieutenant Governor I'm going to do is go out and kind of be a chief business ambassador, getting people to come back that have left the state, getting people to stay here, making sure that people know the great things that we're doing in Minnesota to make it an attractive place for businesses, because businesses bring jobs with them. And so those are out of the gate. Those are the two big things I'll be focusing on as Lieutenant Governor, is fighting the fraud and, again, bringing businesses back to Minnesota.
Do you think, and you founded a medical device company, when I talk with business owners, they're concerned about the tax rate in Minnesota, but they're less concerned about that than they are about a host of other factors. I feel like the political debate tends to lock in on this, on whatever the corporate tax is or whatever the income tax is. When you look at what you think limits growth in Minnesota, are there things beyond just the tax rate that jump out to you?
A lot of it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's things like our daycare is not being affordable. We saw this start in the Dayton administration to now is our home-based daycares have really, been under attack, and they'll tell you that. And so that's a big part of keeping, for example, people who raise families here. So when we add all those things up to today, through things like the employee sick and sick time or the paid family medical leave, all these kind of things add up and just make it a little bit harder to run a business or to start a new business. Maybe the guy that says, I would have started a business maybe 10 years ago, but add all this stuff on top of it, and it just doesn't make sense. I'm just going to keep my day job and not build that new company.
How do we make daycare more affordable?
Again, part of it goes going back and looking at what works. I mean, for decades, a lot of what worked for daycare was community-based, home-based daycare. You go down the block, the street, you got your, somebody that can take care of their kids. And we've over-regulated those. And we've treated them like they're center-based daycares and other types of daycares. And we need to go back to an environment where we have more flexibility in our regulations to be able to accommodate, home-based daycares. And the daycare providers will tell you that. And they lobby for this stuff. And, again, there was a big sea change under the Dayton administration that has carried through to today. And so part of it is just cutting regulations and keeping the ones that need to be there, making sure the kids are safe, but also, making sure that they work so that people can, again, watch their neighbors' kids without being overly regulated.
Ryan, I saw a report today that took a look at Minnesotans and where the average Minnesotan is politically as compared to where politicians are in this state. And the average Minnesotan, they had indexed on like a 0 to 100 scale. And, you could have done it either way. But this particular study had the 0 on the more conservative end, the 100 at the more liberal, and the average Minnesotan, the score they gave was 60. And the politicians are like 20 and 80, on the other extremes. Is there a path for a Republican to win at the statewide level if they are at the 20 or 30 end of that scale?
I don't think so. I think you have to broadly appeal to all Minnesotans. And part of that is by focusing on the issues that matter to all Minnesotans, things like our schools, our affordability, our property taxes, our electricity rates, right? Things that should be universal. And I think Republicans, in particular Lisa, has really good plans for each of these issues that will appeal to a lot of people. And so not making the election as much about these divisive or these wedge issues or these things that, at the end of the day, don't affect our daily lives, and focusing on the things that, what's the difference between being able to take my family on an extra vacation or not, right? How much money do I get to keep in my pocket? What does my life look like? And being able to let people keep more of their money.
I think when you look at the Republican nominating convention and the Republicans, there were problems with the vote and all of this, but it certainly looked like the Republicans were, they endorsed Kendall Qualls. They didn't endorse your ticket. And one of the rips on you guys is that you're too moderate. How do you deal with that in a Republican primary?
I don't know if it's, these labels on kind of this, 0 to 100 or whether you're too moderate or not. I mean, if you look at the Star Tribune coverage about Lisa towards the end of session, I don't think anybody would call her a moderate. You had her on the other day and talked about some of the bills, in particular about bills she brought forward. And so I think, or didn't bring forward. And I think it's hard to,
well, today we define moderate if you're not like launching grenades at the other side. You know what I mean? Like it's not, I'm with you. I think there's a misnomer about this idea that moderate means you're somehow like half a Democrat. That's not what moderate means, I don't think.
Look, I think Lisa's a good conservative. I'm a good conservative, but I think that I think ultimately it gets down to this. When you look at what Amy's running on, Amy Klobuchar, and what Lisa Damath and I are running on, it gets down to, what do you think makes Minnesota great? We think it's the people that make Minnesota great, and Amy thinks it's the government that makes Minnesota great. And our philosophies really fall along those two lines. Amy wants trickle-down government, right? We get more money to the government and take a little more of your taxes. We're going to filter it through different layers of government, and maybe some of it comes back to you in services. And we want to empower the individual, the families, and we're starting it with that as our basis. And so I think whether that's Democrat or Republican, conservative, whatever you want to label that, it gets down to a philosophy of how do we see these problems that exist in the world being solved, and we trust our families and individuals to solve these problems.
Ryan Wilson is with us. Obviously, Donald Trump is the biggest center of gravity in politics, period. In Minnesota, Donald Trump has never been less popular, but among the Donald Trump faithful, he will always be at 100% popularity. How do you answer the concerns that some moderates or some independents have in Minnesota of saying, well, if, do we need a counterbalance to the Trump White House in St. Paul, in the capital, for our governor? How do you respond to that?
I don't think so. This is state issues, federal issues. These are different spheres. I mean, we've had 16 years of Democrats here. People have to decide, are we on the right track or wrong track? Do they like where it's going or they're not? And I think they'll see things like the fraud, like the burdens on their family, like their tax rates, like their affordability, electricity rates, and say, we need Minnesota or state-based solutions. And I think, we can talk about the president, but let's talk about the policies too. And that's where our that's where our campaign is going to be focused. And so we just saw a report 2 days ago come out that Minnesota continues to slide in our schools. We dropped a couple more points, continue to be, performing less than Mississippi. We once were the, star of the country on some of these things. And so one of the things that was passed signed by the president was a federal tax credit for our students for education. And I know there was a big push to get Governor Walz to opt into that. Amy obviously voted against that bill. But that's something that today the governor could opt in on. Lisa will opt into this the second she's governor. Amy could be calling on Governor Walz to be opting into this. This is, I think it's $1,700. That is free money for our state. Doesn't cost us a dime. They can go to help all kids, public students, private school students, everybody be able to use this money. And because it came from this president, we're seeing the Democrats block it. And that's just punitive. It's preventing kids from being helped. And so our focus is going to be on the policies and things like that, and taking it away from the personalities or some of these other conversations that tend to that the radio host and the TV talk show host tend to focus on.
Yeah, I get that. Let me ask you about, you said there are state issues and there are federal issues, but when you look at when those things come together, as they did during the immigration surge here, Operation Metro Shield here in the Twin Cities, do you think the federal government handled that immigration surge correctly? Did they handle it well?
I don't think we've seen them do another surge like that in other states, so that may speak a little bit to that. But I do know this. While that was happening, there was a call for kind of de-escalating. People, both locally and nationally, realizing that what was happening here wasn't ideal for a variety of reasons. J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, come to town. I believe Lisa was the only Speaker Davis was the only elected official to meet with him, discussed and shared kind of the concerns of Minnesotans, what we're seeing on the ground, what she's hearing from constituents. And what was it, 4 or 5 days later, the guy that was here is out, and they bring Hoffman in, and then obviously we saw kind of a de-escalation from there. And so that's the kind of at the state level that Lisa already made an impact on being able to represent state interests. And of course, we could talk about the why all of that happened. And the Republicans have been pretty clear on other states like Michigan, not exactly a far right state, didn't see some of this because they were complying with things like detainers, right? There was orderly transfer of, illegal immigrants to the federal government. And we didn't have that here. And so that's part of.
Well, we did at the state level. It was more of a county issue.
Oh, at the county level, correct.
Yeah.
At the county level, correct.
Yeah.
And
Ryan, we got to go. We're out of time.
Right.
I love talking to you. I really appreciate having you on. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Ryan Wilson, lieutenant governor candidate with Lisa Dameth. We put out the invite to Kendall Qualls, and anybody else? I think that's it. Why not? I didn't ask Ryan if there's a single, maybe his wife is the only person who's going to vote based on who the lieutenant governor is. But we've seen it can matter. We saw it here when Governor Walz was running for vice president of the United States. Peggy Flanagan could have become the governor. 4:50, back in just a minute here on Drive Time.
Drive Time with DeRusha is fueled by Luther Kia of Bloomington. Always online at lutherkiaofbloomington.com.
All right, let's talk about Livia. Let's talk about the 4th of July, right? Because that is a big moment that's coming up. And I think it's a big opportunity for you to think about what could change. What could change in your life by the 4th of July? If you join Livia today, here's what could change. You could lose 15 pounds or more. That's good. You could be healthier. You could show up with greater confidence. You could have more energy. At Livia, they're laser focused on getting you to your goals, and they do it with a personalized plan. They do it with expert nutrition guidance, and they do it with one-on-one support every step of the way. Losing weight for me was the easy part. Keeping weight off for 3.5 years, that is the hard part. It is. Anyone who tells you it's easy, come on. But the benefits, oh my goodness. Summertime is here. My schedule's loaded. I'm active. I feel good. I'm so optimistic about the future. Totally different, really, from 4 years ago. You can do it too. Livia has been a trusted local partner for nearly 17 years. Lasting results, improving your health. That's what it's about. So let's go. 8 weeks free if you join Livia today. 855-GO-LIVIA or visit Livia, LIVEA.com.
For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers the professional-grade products you need to get the job done. With fast delivery you can depend on and access to technical product experts ready to help you meet any challenge. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by.
I'm Kiara Palazzolo, VP of Digital Marketing for the American Management Association, a company focused on the management training skills needed to enhance the careers of business professionals. We did our research when it came to the best companies for website development and chose AmericanEagle.com. And we couldn't be happier. AmericanEagle.com worked closely with us to understand the front and back end requirements needed to launch an e-commerce website that could handle the complexities of running thousands of seminars nationwide. Our robust new website and improved SEO saw immediate increases in site traffic and web revenue. If you're in need of managerial effectiveness and success, visit our website at amanet.org. If you're in need of a website that provides an unparalleled consumer experience, I highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Transform your business today. Dial 877-WebNow1 for a free digital consultation with AmericanEagle.com.
Gas prices are up. Luther Kia of Bloomington is there for you. It's Jason DeRusha. I love my Kia, and I love Dan Dingman and his team, plus their brand new facility. More room, more service bays, more Kia excellence. EVs, hybrids, the red hot 2027 Telluride. I just test drove it. It is awesome. Get to 35W and 494 and check out 0% financing on Sportages and Sorrentos at LutherKiaofBloomington.com.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
And eastbound seeing slowdowns from Highway 65 down to 35W. Westbound 10 slows from Central heading out toward Round Lake Boulevard. If you're going to be traveling on the west side of the metro, get ready for slowdowns along 169 northbound as you come up from Valley View toward Highway 7. South 169 is jammed up from 494 down to Pioneer Trail. USPS Ground Advantage reliable route, that's going to be 494 southbound, free-flowing from Highway 55 to Highway 62. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
With a well-designed will, trust, and estate plan, you can have peace of mind. Choose Matt Gutman of Gutman Law to give yourself peace of mind. Call him now, 612-895-1616 at gutmanlaw.com. Gutman Law, peace of mind today for tomorrow.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
Forecast is wet, raining downtown Minneapolis right now. It'll clear out tonight, low of 57. Tomorrow, mostly sunny. 80 is the high. Scattered showers possible late. Saturday looks pretty good. Dry, 73. Should feel nice after the hot and humid week. That is for sure. Next week, back to the 70s. Thank goodness. It is 65 on CCO.
Where curiosity hits the gas. Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Can you blow my mind? Set up my whole body. If I get
So, Dan, last night, I went to see Spamalot over at the Ordway, right across the park from where Alyssa and I are living in St. Paul. And you'll never guess who we saw at Spamalot.
Paul McCartney.
We did not see Paul McCartney. Well, we saw the Paul McCartney of the Twin Cities, Vanita Sarkar.
Oh,
I knew.
It was, you know what? That was my second guess.
Yeah.
It was either Paul or it was Vanita.
So on the way there, our building is attached to the St. Paul Hotel. So we go in the St. Paul Hotel, come out, by the kind of roundabout, and there's like the guy with the tall hat and the whole bit. And we're walking out, and some woman's like, "Hey, can I take your picture in the roses?" And I was like, "No, we're good." And then she says, "I'm a professional photographer." And I said, "Well, in that case," and I gave her my camera. And so
I'm still trying to get over somebody saying, "Can they take your picture?" and you saying, "No."
Well, okay.
Trying to get past that.
Yeah. Shocking. Well, it's a weird thing. She was taking pictures with her guy in there. So I just thought it was just some nonsense, right? And if you're watching on our live stream right now, here's one of the pictures.
Oh, I did see that picture in your social feed.
It's pretty good.
It's a lovely picture of you and Alyssa.
It's pretty good. What I don't know now is was she full of it? These are nice
They're
photos.
very well done, yes.
If you follow me on Facebook or on Instagram, just search DeRusha. You can see the photos. Here's the only bad part about it. So I had done the dishes right before we left the house.
Oh, yeah. Now
and if you look closely.
Yeah. Oops, dingle.
And I asked Alyssa, I'm like, "Is there a stain on my shirt?" And she's looking. She's like, "There's no stain. It's just the water. It hadn't dried."
Right.
It was a splash. Still, though, nice photos.
Very nice.
Would you just give your camera to a rando?
Nope.
Your phone? Even so silly. Spamalot's pretty good, too. Continental Diamond, time check. It's 4:57.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-979-3535. That's 800-979-3535. 800-979-3535.
Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, rock star. Let's look at your account. When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything. Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger, With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
News Talk 830 WCCO, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. After weeks of stalled talks between the U.S. and Iran, President Trump announcing a final deal is close, he says, and could be signed as early as this weekend. ABC's Louis Martinez says the president called off his threat to carry out new military strikes tonight and says Iran has been taking a pounding.
What does he mean by a pounding? What he's talking about the airstrikes we saw last night. And there was a lot of telegraphing about these airstrikes. You normally don't hear in advance that the United States is going to be carrying out military action, but you heard both the president and Defense Secretary Hexeth talking about these actions taking place and that there was a rationale for them, which was to get Iran towards moving along with the talks that had been stalled for weeks.
Stocks surging and oil prices fell on hopes of a possible peace deal. The president has nominated former SEC chair and current U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton to be the next director of national intelligence. Bill Pulte, tapped as acting D&I director, is receiving bipartisan pushback, including failed votes today to extend FISA's critical surveillance tools set to expire tomorrow. Here's ABC's Catherine Faulders.
Of course, the House and the Senate have both left, so we'll have to see. But this is what's very clear about this is Trump and the White House understanding that FISA wasn't going to get through by the end of the week, and that even though Trump was saying that Bill Pulte would serve in an acting role, that really wasn't going to do him any favors on Capitol Hill. He needed to make a decision, and he needed to make a decision on this quickly.
At the Pentagon today, a partial lockdown earlier has been lifted. Hazmat crews responding to a potential air quality incident at the facility. That issue triggered by sensors. The Pentagon says tests determined it was a false alarm. The World Cup officially underway. Mexico beating South Africa in the first match today in Mexico City. Tomorrow night, the first U.S. hosted match takes place in Los Angeles, the U.S. taking on Paraguay. You're listening to ABC News.
Minnesota's trusted voice every hour. Let's get you caught up with what's happening now on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Mostly cloudy, 70 degrees at 5:02. I'm Laura Oakes. The suspect charged in a spree of violence, including the murder of former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman, changes his plea in federal court today. More now from WCCO's Mark Fry.
Vance Boelter spoke quietly but confidently throughout the hearing, where he pleaded guilty to 6 federal counts related to the murders of Mark and Melissa Hortman and the shootings of John and Yvette Hoffman. As part of the plea deal, Boelter will avoid the death penalty. He is expected to serve 2 consecutive life sentences, followed by 40 years in federal prison. With state charges still pending against Boelter, Judge John Thunheim noted he will set a sentencing date within the next 10 days, with sentencing expected to be done by the end of July. With more, here's WCCO's Taylor Rivera.
U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen says he stands in complete agreement with the decision to accept a plea deal in the Vance Boelter case. Rosen strongly defended the decision, saying that not taking the death penalty route guaranteed consecutive life terms without release for Boelter.
The direction that we had was that we will not seek the death penalty provided Mr. Boelter enters into the plea agreement that you all saw him enter into today. That was the only circumstance under which the death penalty was off the table. We continue to believe this case was charged right.
Attention now shifts toward the upcoming federal sentencing hearing and the separate first-degree murder charges Boelter faces in Hennepin County.
That's WCCO's Taylor Rivera. Meanwhile, we're hearing new disturbing details about the scene at the Hortman residence nearly a year ago, including Boelter admitting today that after he shot Mark Hortman, he ran after Melissa Hortman while shooting her multiple times and admitted to then putting a gun to her head and firing. Another delay in the redevelopment plan for George Floyd Square in South Minneapolis. The city council today voting to reject Mayor Jacob Fry's proposal to award the People's Way project on the site of a former Speedway gas station to the Minnesota Agape movement. Some council members have expressed concerns about Agape's ability to manage the project. Councilmember Latricia Vitaw acknowledging the frustration surrounding the whole process.
We have to stop fighting about it. We have to stop politicizing it.
Yep.
We have to come together and say, we're going to show the world. When they come to this area, we're going to show the world that something terrible happened, but look what we built out of it.
A spokesperson for Mayor Fry says voting down Agape and returning to the drawing board is the council's prerogative. Mayor Fry's goal is to move forward at George Floyd Square and stop delaying, and that the mayor is already coordinating with council members Chavez and Stevenson and city staff to determine a path forward. And finally, Gopher women's basketball coach Dawn Plitzwhite gets a contract extension through the 2032 season. The team is 69-36 in her first 3 seasons, improving each year. WCCO News Time is 5:05.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Well, you want to make sure you're buckled up and the headlights are on with the rain continuing to move through the metro. Got your slowdowns in place, 494 northbound, Rockford Road to the Fish Lake Interchange. West 94, that's a slow ride, 169 all the way up toward the area of County Road 30. East 94 slows past Lexington into downtown St. Paul. South 35E, get ready for the heavy stuff from Highway 36, heading down to Highway 13. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
B&M Tree Services, certified arborists offering tree trimming, storm cleanup, and full tree removal with professional service at prices you can afford. Call 1-800-569-9034 or visit bnmtree.com. Trusted, professional, reliable.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
Brought to you by B&M Tree Service. Here's WCCO TV Chief Meteorologist Chris Schaefer.
The rain moves out this evening, then the clouds move out, down to 57 overnight tonight. Plenty of sunshine tomorrow. That'll be the warmest day with a high up near 80. There will be a bit of a breeze from the west-southwest, 10 to 15 miles per hour. A few scattered showers are possible from the Twin Cities down into southern Minnesota in the evening. Weekend looks dry, partly cloudy, and 73 both days.
Mostly cloudy right now, 70 degrees at News Talk 830 WCCO.
Stay smart, stay connected by staying tuned in. News Talk 830 WCCO. He knows news. He knows talk. He knows nonsense too. So get ready for a lot of each. This is Drive Time with DeRusha, fueled by Luther Kia of Bloomington. Once again, here's Jason DeRusha.
Dan, I sent the big boss here at the radio station an email during our show today. Does that make you nervous?
Why would that make me nervous? You're the one tempting fate.
Well, actually, now that I sent him the note, I'm like, is that the actual boss I'm supposed to send stuff to? Our org chart changes so often around here, I don't even know who's in charge of what.
A lot of crossed over lines and curves, and I don't even know what's going on.
It's because I stand in like a hole. The carpet right where we stand.
Like, what do you? Oh, now
No, no.
No, I was trying to see where we're connected here.
Well, the hole here, there's the carpet right at the host position.
Yeah, there's a big divot in it.
Understandably, right? Like,
well,
somebody stands here. Well, someone stands in your spot. Why isn't there a dang hole?
Because I've got one of those plastic sheets that allows you to roll a chair on it.
So it's protected.
So it's protected, yeah.
If you had a plastic
If that
sheet,
wasn't there, we'd have a hole just like you do.
So if I had a plastic sheet over here,
yeah,
there's a decent chance that I'd wipe out like a cartoon character slipping on a banana.
I mean, you can't rule it out.
I have like one of these, they sell these pads for your kitchen.
Yeah, the kind of cushion allows you to, if you're standing for a long period of time, it gives you a little bit of.
Because I spend a lot of time like chiffonading.
Excuse me? Do I have to hit the dump button for that?
Trying to think of a style of cut. Like,
No, I have no idea.
You've never minced like a mince? I think chiffonade.
I've actually heard the word mince before.
I think chiffonade is a thing. What about dicing? What about julienning? Yeah, chiffonade. It's a cutting style commonly used to cut herbs.
Well, there's your problem.
What is the last herb you've eaten? 651. Do you have a favorite herb?
No, I can honestly say I don't.
My favorite herb, Alpert.
Okay.
That's
a nice deep cut.
That's like
at least 5 people in the audience got that bit.
That is a CCO radio coded joke.
100%.
That is an A+ joke if you are 70 years or older.
Just gonna say you better qualify that sentence in a hurry.
All right, you're gonna find a little herb Alpert. Anyway, I'm standing on a cushion, is my point.
What were we talking about again?
When I bring the cushion in, Henry doesn't like the cushion. He always takes the cushion out. And so the choice is, do I stand in like a shredded piece of carpet? Do I stand on this cushion thing? I could sit down. I mean, these are the things that concern me. And so I took a photo of it and sent it up to the big boss. But now we had a reorganization, and I don't know, is he the big boss anymore? I don't know, man. Corporate America. A lot of people worry about like how much they get paid. I just want to know, who do I complain to that the carpet has a hole in it? I don't like it. 65-year-old texter got the Herb Alpert joke.
We're getting younger.
Yeah. Have you found any Tijuana brass? Is it that hard? I would think YouTube is full of. No?
It's not finding any. It's finding the one that I can actually identify.
Okay.
This isn't the one I was looking for, but you'll get the idea.
No, this isn't what I would think.
No. He's there. He's eating the brass.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Yes. Come on. Is it which song is this?
Taste of Honey.
Taste of Honey. Now, did you know Herb? So the reason I know Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, which doesn't make any sense, why I would know that, being a 51-year-old man. But what about this? Do you know this one? Huh?
It's a game show theme, right?
Dating game. Yeah. For some
weird that you pick that up.
For some reason, at my high school radio station, WMTH 90.5 FM, we had like a Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass album. And like part of my very first broadcasting class is I had to learn how to like cue up album. And that was how we got graded. Like you had to cue it up right on the money.
Not easy, by the way.
Not easy.
No.
Not easy. It's oh, look at this. Our friend Paul Peterson said he just played Herb Alpert's club in LA. You know, all our favorites on this show are just flexing left and right to us today.
Yeah. I made the Paul McCartney joke.
There was a
last hour because somebody flexed Paul McCartney sighting on.
Just a casual dinner.
Yeah.
Now, there are many great herbs. This is an excellent question. The textures are very good. 61-year-old got the Herb Alpert joke. Thank you.
Getting younger.
If we
Here
get, my goal when I took this job 4 years ago was, can I get the average age of our listeners under 60? We're getting there. We're at 61. Do I hear 60? We got 61 at 651-461-9226. There are many great herbs, says another texter. If you had to rank the greatest herbs of all time,
There's one answer and one answer only you can give as a Minnesotan.
Brooks.
Herb Brooks.
Alpert, top 10, maybe?
Sure. But if you're from Minnesota and you have anybody other than Herb Brooks as number one.
Hancock? How about Hancock? Herbie?
It's Herbie. You're stretching it a little bit. A little bit.
Chicken? Yeah, I don't know. Best herbs. Have you ever cooked with an herb? I sort of took this in the...
Yeah, you kind of veered away from the cooking thing. Look, I have never, whatever your word you used was, I've never done that.
You've never chiffonaded?
Yeah, whatever that is. I don't know that I've ever used any kind of fresh herbs that would require that sort of thing.
Have you ever used a fresh herb?
No. If I've used any herbs at all, it comes in the little plastic, tube or whatever. Shaker.
A texter pointing out, perhaps now honing in on why it is that a high school student broadcaster may have remembered the Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass album. It's possibly because the album Whipped Cream and Other Delights
That definitely has nothing to do with it.
had a rather fetching woman on the cover, and she was covered in whipped cream.
I have no idea why the texter would think that would have anything whatsoever to do with your memory.
Famous herbs and herbs. Herb Carneal. People are flooding the text line with the Herb Carneal. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably number 2 in terms of Minnesota. I still think Herbie Brooks is number 1. But Herb Carneal, absolute legend. Worked with him briefly when I first got here. Very kind.
You did?
Gentleman.
Whoa.
Yeah, very kind gentleman.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How about if you're watching on our live stream on YouTube, I'm showing another famous herb. Is it Herb? It's how do?
Yeah, no, it's Herb. That's a Herb.
Herb Tarlick.
Yeah, from WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Is that the best TV show about radio?
I mean, it's WKRP and it's news radio are really kind of the only two.
Yeah. Well, Frasier, sort of.
Frasier's not really about radio.
What? I mean,
not really.
I suppose. I think
not that any of them.
It's a little. None of them were really about radio.
Well, none of them really. Because and why would they? None of them really got like the details nailed down of what it's like to work in a radio station.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's not really what the shows were ultimately about. But I think Frasier was furthest away from that central idea.
Yeah. We talked the other day about old names coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see like a chance for Herb coming back? No,
probably not.
I don't think so.
I'm not feeling it.
Texter says Herb Hoover. What about Herb Hoover? Former president.
Again, famous.
His friends all called him Herb, though. A lot of people don't know that.
Not super highly thought of in the pantheon of presidents, but
no,
maybe unfairly so. Well, he sort of gets blamed for the Depression.
Yeah. Herbie the dentist from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't recall that.
Oh, you don't recall Herbie?
No.
Oh, yeah, no, he's a big part of Rudolph.
All right.
How do you? Oh, no, yeah, Herbie's big.
Herbie the Love Bug. Oh, I loved Herbie the Love Bug. Yeah. Herbie Herbeck? No.
I mean, they did call Ken Herbeck Herbie.
True.
But again, you're sort of reaching if we're talking Herb.
Texter says, I played lead trumpet in high school band. Graduated in 1970. Played a lot of Herb Alpert. Now,
that tracks.
Of the band instruments, trumpet, I feel like trumpet is pretty good.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, like, everybody wanted to do trumpet.
Were you in the
orchestra?
band?
Everybody wanted to do violin.
Right.
So because I don't know, I guess I had not a rebellious streak, but I just wanted to be counter of what everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
So in band, I played the French horn, and that lasted a year.
French horn. Is that the lamest instrument in the band?
No, not at all.
What's the lamest?
In the band?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is the triangle still part of the band? That's.
But if you play the triangle, you're percussion, and percussion people are weird and cool. Like the percussion people are usually the cool people in the band, aren't they? I mean, it's all relative.
Everything's relative. Yeah.
You're in the band still. My wife played the flute and the piccolo.
Yeah, that's not easy. So I give them.
I think the piccolo is kind of lame, right? Like flute is cool.
I think trombone people have a higher value on themselves than they actually are because of the slide. They think,
I think the trumpet is cool because like it's so loud. And taps, do you do taps with the trumpet?
You
bugle?
Yeah, I mean
bugle, trumpet.
Trumpet people
what
are
are we
be
doing?
very mad if you're gonna
You know what? If you're a trumpet person, you're probably mad all the time. Well, this was a tremendous segment of radio.
What were we talking about again?
I sent an email to the boss
because of the hole in the floor.
That's right.
And we wound up. The trumpet people are. Oh my goodness.
Makes sense. Drive time. I got more where that came from. I'll tell you what. I got all sorts of ideas in this stack. We'll be back in just a minute.
Drive time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Sometimes life takes you on unexpected journeys, like the last segment that we just enjoyed here on WCCO Radio. When the unexpected comes your way, don't you want experts in your corner? You do. It's called insurance. The Canopy Group is my safety valve when things go wrong. The Canopy Group, man, they're different. They're different. So many Minnesotans, I think they told me 81% is the number of Minnesotans that have one insurance agent and one company that agent has. And you see the commercials on TV or you see the shingle up in front of somebody's office. The Canopy Group represents you, not some big company. They represent you. And so when you reach out to the Canopy Group at their website, thecanopygroup.com, they take your scenario and shop it through 16 different companies. 16 different companies to find the best connection, the best combination of home and auto insurance for your needs, your zip code, your car setup, your family setup, the type of roof, how old it is, all that stuff. When you reach out for the first time, I did just as a customer. I called 800-967-3389. And they took my scenario, they ran it through 16 different companies, and they saved me $820 the first year. What I love is they automatically do it year after year to make sure I'm still getting the best deal. No obligation. What do you have to lose? Well, you have a lot to lose if you don't reach out. thecanopygroup.com.
Right here in Minneapolis, lives are getting second chances every day. NMDP, a global nonprofit leader in cell therapy, connects blood cancer patients with matching donors, helping save lives in our community and beyond, including WCCO's own Jordana Green. Now you can help. Join us June 17th for the Cure Blood Cancer Radio Auction, live on News Talk 830 WCCO. Bid on exclusive experiences with your favorite on-air personalities. Learn more at go.nmdp.org/radio auction.
Nobody wants to sell their house for almost the most money possible. You need marketing behind you, and nobody markets homes better than the John Schuster Group, Coldwell Banker Realty. It's Vanita here. Scott and Kathleen from Edina knew that they needed to sell their home for the most money possible to fund their move. They were fed up after our brutal winter and needed the most money possible to afford their dream home somewhere warmer. They interviewed agents, and John's marketing system stood out to them. The Good Neighbor Agents marketing system sells homes for top dollar, reaching thousands of potential home buyers. John's marketing got them 3 massive offers in less than 72 hours. Their home sold for more than $50,000 over the asking price. Are you curious what your home is worth? That's how it starts. Just type in your address on johnschustergroup.com.
Buy a home
Sell a home, we'll get you moving. JohnSchusterGroup.com.
Terms and conditions may apply.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha.
He's known for the slow burn. He wanted to keep it organic, and I'm still begging for it. More controversy.
On News Talk 830 WCCO. DeRusha, he has the eats.
Nobody brings you the Twin Cities restaurant scene like your favorite foodie. Now, Jason explores some of the great chefs, owners, and stories right in our own backyard. Drive Time now transitions into DeRusha Eats.
DeRusha Eats is brought to you by the Minnesota Pork Board. A couple of things I want to talk about, including the dirty food trend. Maybe you've heard of dirty soda, but dirty soda is really just the beginning of a trend that is going on out there of people just sort of messing with their food. And I have to be honest, I don't really get it. I don't really get it. So do you guys know about the dirty soda trend? Dirty soda is basically a latte for people who don't drink coffee. So you take Coke or you take Dr. Pepper and you mix it with cream and flavored syrup. It is all over the place. In Maple Grove, the chain Sota, S-O-T-A, was maybe the first. And my understanding is that this got its start from like the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, because Mormons don't have caffeine, and so they can't have a latte. And so instead, it's this dirty soda. Star Tribune did a story today looking at everything dirty. There's a chain called Dirty Burger. There's a French burger at Belcourt in the North Loop called the Dirty French Burger. My wife likes the Dirty Chai, which is, okay, Dan Cook giving me a dirty look. Dirty Chai is a chai tea with a shot of espresso in it. It's actually quite delicious. I do not want, I don't want milk in my soda. You're a soda drinker, right, Dan?
Occasionally, yeah.
Would you, I mean, just think of like your sort of specific culinary needs?
Yeah.
No.
What I refer to as my food insanity? Yeah. No, this wouldn't, mostly soda for me is a vehicle to get caffeine into my body. So the rest of it is just interfering with that process.
Do you think that the real reason people are going crazy for everything dirty is because it just sounds cool?
Yes.
Because Dirty Fries, Fire Lake at Mall of America, has an item called Dirty Fries. Let me describe it, and let's see if you can come up with another word for it. You got French fries that are covered in cheese curds and doused in beef gravy.
So poutine.
That's correct. Yeah. Dirty fries. Give me them dirty fries.
I think it's twofold, right? It allows people to, one, feel rebellious.
Yep.
And snooty all at the same time.
Ooh.
It's the combination of those two.
Interesting.
That is spurring this, in my opinion. Noted food expert Dan Cook.
I think that's as good of a guess as anything. Another news item that happened today in the food world. I got word that Gavin Kaysen, the chef behind Spoon and Stable, Demi in Belcourt, is opening a third French bakery, a third Belcourt, and he's opening it in downtown Minneapolis. And that it's not in the Skyway level. It'll be on the ground floor level of the Wells Fargo building. But I think that is fairly significant. It to me, says a little something about the fact that we're going back to the 4 days in office.
It also begs the question, when did he perfect the art of human cloning? There's no way he's getting to all of these places and doing all this stuff by himself.
No.
You know? So he clonely had to clone himself.
He has, yeah.
And then
It's called Dirty Gavin, is what they call that move. Don't send that sound clip to him.
Too late.
There's a Belcourt daytime bakery at 50th and France. There's a Belcourt that's bakery by day, restaurant by night in North Loop. This will just be like coffee shop and bakery. To me, what's interesting is we've seen David Fema expanding his bakeries in downtown Minneapolis. Now Gavin Kaysen expanding another bakery. Perhaps this is a bit of a positive sign for more people coming back to work, for downtown Minneapolis coming back to life. I also think it's a bit of a statement that these building owners are making in saying we have to have amenities if we're going to get people to feel good about coming back to work. So I think that is maybe as much a part of this as it is the chefs saying they're all in. Wells Fargo is 90 South 7th. I went to a coffee shop over there, 333 South 7th, today called Fragment. And it was great. There's so many coffee shops with so many bakeries. How many pastries are you guys eating? Like, and how do you pull it off? Like, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. But I think it's a good sign. And we talk about when there are problems in downtown, and I think we should talk about some of the positives as well. That's DeRusha Eats, brought to you by the Minnesota Pork Board. I do want to put a bow on our opening segment, which ended with us talking about which band instruments were the coolest. And texters say clarinet people are nerds. Another texter says French horn is the lamest. Trombone is the finest because it gathers all the attention. Oboe.
Sounds like a trombone player to me.
For sure. Oboe the latest. But this may be most important. Of all the guys I dated, the best kissers were trumpet players. It's all that lip strength.
A lot of lip flexing.
Lip flexing was actually the name of my band when I was in high school. Drive time back. Paul Bloom expected to join us in a couple minutes talking about what it was like in the courtroom today as Vance Boelter pled guilty to killing Melissa and Mark Hortman, to shooting John and Yvette Hoffman, and to trying to kill two other elected state, one rep, one senator. Paul Bloom from Fox 9 in just a minute here on CCO.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Tech, sponsored by Ethos.
Salesforce is making a big financial commitment to developing artificial intelligence in France. The $2 billion investment includes launching a new AI innovation hub in Paris, as well as expanding support for AI education and workforce training. Salesforce CEO and chair Mark Benioff calls France one of the world's great centers for AI innovation, thanks to a strong research ecosystem and entrepreneurial talent. I'm Jason Brooks.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Last night, we fired up the grill and fired up two absolutely beautiful bone-in pork chops. It's Jason here for Minnesota Pork. This time of year, it is just the best time of year to be enjoying lean, high-protein, delicious, safe, Minnesota-grown pork. Now that pork chop is awesome. So easy. We just salt and peppered it. Kept it super, super simple. Put it on the grill at our apartment in downtown St. Paul and off. We had a plate full of green beans and Minnesota pork. Summertime is Minnesota pork time. If it's not a pork chop, maybe it's a juicy pork burger or a smoky sausage. How about some succulent ribs stealing the spotlight? And you know you're supporting 3,000 family farmers. Every time you go to the grocery store, you go to the butcher shop, and you say, hey, I'm hungry. Taste What Pork Can Do can give you some recipe inspiration, but let's have Minnesota pork for dinner tonight. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Jordana, I'm Brian. I'm 58 and single. I have a house, a bunch of investments. And I have a sister I'm close to, but no kids or anything tying me down. So I never really worried about planning for the future. Recently, a friend of mine passed away unexpectedly without a will or a trust, and it created a huge mess for the family he left behind. I don't want to be a burden on my sister. I want to be prepared. So why should I choose Gutman Law?
Hi, Brian. Your instincts are correct. If you were to do nothing, the state would decide who's in charge and how to distribute your assets, which is probably not what you want. And your sister will have a lot to sort out by herself. Now, this is the reason why I chose Gutman Law. My family, Matt and Jamie, were so sensitive to the nuances of my situation after a divorce. An estate plan is more than just names and numbers on a piece of paper. It's family. Making it easy on them is what matters most. From healthcare directives to wills to living trusts, Gutman Law can help you determine what type of planning makes sense to protect you and your loved ones. 612-895-1616 or go to mnestatelaw.com. Gutman Law, giving you peace of mind today for tomorrow.
We've decided to offer Barufka's furniture trade-in event full time.
We'll give you $100 credit towards the Craftsman direct price of your $2,000 purchase of Barufka's furniture.
Don't kick that old end table to the curb.
Trade it in for a $100 credit on your purchase.
I'd like to trade my spinach sandwich for your egg salad.
Oh, Jim. Barufka's. No gimmicks, haggling, or hard to understand pricing. In Minnetonka, Woodbury, and Burnsville.
Decidedly different.
Hey, you! Yeah, I'm talking to you! We got a show and it's Guys and Dolls at Chanhassen and Dinner Theaters. It's terrific and delicious because you got dinner and a show. Don't take my word, everybody's loving it. The Pioneer Press called it a must-see. Star Tribune called it eye-popping and blazing with brilliance. I heard a lady from Eden Prairie say this is the best show she's ever seen at the Chan. Grab your doll or your guy. Get your family over here for Guys and Dolls. Visit chanhassendt.com.
Staples has hundreds of ways to grow your business this spring, like spectacular signs, brilliant brochures, eye-popping posters, mouth-watering menus, and more. Shop now through June 13th and save up to $150 on all your custom prints. Staples. That was easy.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast.
Pump up the volume.
When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
And you can find slowdowns in place trying to make way out of downtown St. Paul. Got a crash working on 35E northbound near Little Canada Road. Looks the right lane to be affected, and things again, as I mentioned, jammed up into downtown St. Paul. Traveling along 694 eastbound, got your slowdowns in place there as you come away from, well, basically Silver Lake Road over to 35E, 169, some slowing at to make way toward 394. This update, by the way, brought to you by USPS Ground Advantage. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
Get the water that you and your family deserve with Aquarius. They're an independent, authorized Connecticut dealer. Right now, get an additional $500 off when you trade in your old water softener. I've been a customer since 1993. AquariusHomeservices.com.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
Sun is out now in downtown Minneapolis. The rain has been all over the place. Let's get the latest from Chief Meteorologist Chris Schaefer.
We'll catch a break from the rain later on this evening. The clouds will be clearing out overnight tonight, falling back to 57. Plenty of sunshine tomorrow. There'll be a bit of a breeze, but it'll be a warm day with a high up near 80. This weekend will be cooler, but fairly pleasant. Partly cloudy, 73 both days with a northwest wind coming 10 to 15.
Live radar showing rain to the north, to the west, to the east, but nothing within the main metro area. It is, well, that sun is going to warm things up a bit. It's 65 on CCO.
The ride home deserves better conversation. Drive time with Garusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
I'm picking out this dress, trying on these shoes.
All right, I want to get to Paul Bloom from Fox 9 because he was in the courtroom in federal court today when Vance Boelter pled guilty to killing Melissa and Mark Hortman, shooting John and Yvette Hoffman, and showing up at two other state legislators' house with the intent of harming them as well. Paul Bloom with us on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline. Paul, just reading the accounts of what happened and listening to our CCO radio reporters, it was emotional for me to hear it. What was it like in the courtroom today?
Yeah, chilling new details, that we had not heard during, Vance Boelter's admission, during his allocution today. He's got to answer, a steady dose of questions, establishing that he is guilty of the crimes he's pleading to. And, the most notable, and I'm sure you've heard it and sort of flagged it, is when he's at the Hortman house. The horrifying details of assassinating, the former DFL Speaker of the House inside her own home, while she's fleeing up the stairs, a very sort of deliberate, planned out attack. He has this exchange with the husband at the door, Mark, kind of makes, Maple Grove police, there's been a shooting in the area. Who else is in the home with you? Oh, my wife. Oh, can you get her? I just want to make sure she's okay. Okay. So he Mark beckons his wife, and then that's when, Boelter opens fire and chases Melissa up the stairs and kills her. And that drew, loud sobs and crying and gasps across the gallery. It was a jam-packed courtroom. The Hoffmans that were sitting front row, the Hortmans, the parents, the adult children are in the courtroom. I mean, it was, that's a courtroom moment you don't forget.
Yeah. Yeah, and the families were so close, right? Like they were sitting right there, right near where Vance Boelter was sort of telling his story.
Right, especially, the Hoffmans, they took the front row. So John and Yvette, right, they're shot, what was it? I mean, more than a dozen times total. John should be dead. I mean, there should be a couple more murder counts. And in reality, right, that was, the intent. He also kind of detailed what he did there, which, again, started out as police kind of following up on a reported shooting. And then all of a sudden he says it's a robbery. He forces them downstairs, makes them put up their hands. And then he opens fire, of course, their grown daughter, Hope, nearby. So those details. But, yeah, the Hoffmans were right there. I got a good view of John. And he was sort of on the edge of his seat as Boelter is allocuting and kind of, nodding yes to kind of, he's detailing what happened. Of course, I don't know what John's memory is of those horrifying moments, but seemed to be sort of nodding in agreement, laser focused on what the defendant was saying. But, yeah, feet away. I mean, it's not. I know you've been in a lot of courtrooms. I mean, the federal courthouse is a little bit bigger. There's a little bit of space, but no doubt. I mean, not far at all. And and it was just so old, so just matter of fact. Just yes, I did it. Guilty. Just
no emotion,
nothing. No, just on point. I mean, I was just thinking, he's now 58 or 57 when he carried out these attacks. Planned them for months, no discernible criminal record of any kind. It just, what we didn't get today, while we got these new details and a full admission, he's planning it for months. Yes, he dressed up as police. Yes, he put on the silicone mask. He didn't say why, right? There was no component of motivation. Now, while Boelter agrees to 2 life sentences plus 20 years on top of that, and it felt like in the court proceedings, you could probably just move on to sentencing today. Judge Thunheim will call back all the parties for a formal sentencing. And it is there where Boelter will be formally given the opportunity to speak to the court. And perhaps there is where, he kind of went in thinking, will he rant at some point? During his admission, will we hear something from him? But, but I did it because, so-and-so told me or whatever. We didn't get that at all today. So I think as we head towards the federal sentencing, I'll be curious to see what he does when given the opportunity to speak in court at a later date.
And it's always a double-edged sword, right, Paul? Because as much as I feel a little like as a society, we want to understand that, there's also nothing stopping a killer from making up some nonsense and saying whatever they want and re-traumatizing the family again with whatever sort of craziness he wants to say.
No, you're exactly right. And some of the early reports on this case, I don't know if you remember, he was spouting out to some reporters early on from the Sherburne County Jail. There were his rantings and rants and, in writing. And then clearly, I'm not going to give a medical diagnosis, but seems to have some deranged thought processes. And there was an element of he's blaming Governor Walz and that kind of thing. So sure, no, he could traumatize. He could traumatize the community again. He certainly could traumatize the families with what he has to say. We'll see if he says it. It's just as that reporter in me, I kind of wanted, I want a little bit more beyond the detail, just an explanation, like what finally set him off. We heard about the planning. We heard about the use of the internet, the GPS devices, the stalking, the doing his research. Like he knew names, he knew home layouts, he knew addresses. He went to the two lawmakers in between. I mean, that night, we've talked about, it's been a year now, but the fact that, I know law enforcement gets questioned about what happened, how he got away for the 43 hours he did. But if they don't intercept his vehicle at the home of the Hortmans and the arsenal he had there and the research he had done, it could have been a whole lot more bloodshed that weekend a year ago now.
Paul Bloom, Fox 9, was in the courtroom today. We talked a little bit about the lack of emotion from Vance Boelter. I imagine, this had to be so hard for the families to sit there and face him. Was there emotion from them, or were they stoic?
I thought my best view was of John Hoffman, just the way the gallery works. His wife, Yvette, was on the other side of him, so I didn't get a good facial view of her, and the Hortmans were all sort of mixed together amongst supporters in the back. As I mentioned, the assassination, the details in the Hortman house really drew what I would describe as the loudest and most overwhelming emotion.
We just didn't know that. We didn't know. The details of sort of just how just horrific and manipulative with Mark Hortman, and then chasing Melissa essentially up the stairs and putting a gun to her head. Just crushing to get those details.
Yeah, and we go to these allocutions, and sometimes they're a little bit more antiseptic. There's did you use a gun? Did you do X? Did you you're kind of just establishing the sort of the letter of the law, like you have to admit to each and every sort of subdivision to sort of admit to the crime, and the court can then find you guilty of the crime. But yeah, those details. We're shocking. I've covered this case as close as anyone for the last year. I had not heard those. And, yes, the manipulation at the door and like that he knows, she's likely in the house. He kind of concocts a story that there's been a shooting nearby. I'm here to check on it. Who else is at home? He's at the door with Mark Hortman, the husband, and he admits to sort of asking who else is in the home. And he's like, oh, just my wife. She's upstairs sleeping. And then he's pretending to be a Maple Grove police officer. He says, well, I'll just need to see, check on her to make sure she's okay before I leave. So like, that's what beckons Melissa sort of down the stairs to come into this horrifying exchange. And then, he chases her down and assassinates her on her own stairs as she's trying to get away. And just horrific details. And, this does avoid a trial, right? I don't know. I know people have some different, opinions on this. Certainly followed social media, your listeners, others, our viewers, having mixed feelings. The death penalty being taken off the table. Like if this isn't the crime that warrants a death penalty, what does? Politically motivated. He admitted he was going after lawmakers. Obviously, the U.S. attorney made that decision to not pursue the death penalty, but to take the sort of done deal. We get him. We have 2 life sentences plus 20 years on top of that. He's not going anywhere. He'll never take a breath of freedom again. That was enough for the federal government to take the death penalty off the table.
And you also wonder about, like, let's also be realistic in knowing that the victims in this case are Minnesota Democrats who in a state that doesn't have the death penalty. So as much as like I might have my own beliefs about what I think should happen, I think it's also fair to take a beat and acknowledge that I bet the victims' families have a divergence of opinion, or at least a number of opinions in that group as to what they think should happen.
Yeah, we know they were consulted, and by statute, certainly the family of the Hortmans is sort of, they're the victims of the death penalty crime because they were killed. But I know the Hoffmans also met with the U.S. attorney, and Daniel Rosen certainly listened to them. But yeah, no, there is a taking of opinion. My understanding from folks close to the victims' families was there was a divergent mix. There were differing opinions on whether they wanted a death penalty sought, and somebody telling me they actually thought, or has been on record, that Melissa was against the death penalty. I certainly am not. I don't cover the Capitol well enough to know her exact position. If I'm misstating it, I do apologize. But that there were some mixed feelings on that. But most notably, the one thing that I think controlled the possibility of pursuing capital punishment in this specific case was the legalities of it, right? Yeah. You mentioned Minnesota doesn't have it in state statute. So it had to be a federal offense, and the feds have to find an offense in which it fits to get a death penalty case. And what they've done is this sort of combination of murder and an interstate stalking, meaning you use the internet or GPS devices to stalk and then you kill. But in Luigi Mangione's case in New York City, where he jumps out in the dark and he attacks the United Healthcare, CEO and kills Brian Thompson, that charge was thrown out as a capital punishment charge in New York. And while not precedential in Minnesota, there was some thought that because it was similarly charged here in Minnesota, the stalking, the murder, that it might be hard to get that charge accepted as a death penalty charge through our district court. U.S. Attorney says the circumstances are different enough. What happened in the Hortman home was as violent a stalk as you can get, as opposed to Thompson, where he kind of jumps out of the dark. There's no sort of fear created. It happens in seconds. It's done. It's over, as opposed to what took place in the Hortman home. They thought they could fight it, but they also could see it taking years and going up to the appeals court and the Supreme Court and decisions coming back and forth. And maybe it takes half a dozen years and we end up right where we did today. Why not just take sort of, what you have in hand? He's willing to take the 2 life sentences. He's willing to accept a life behind bars
and shut it down.
Close the case.
Yeah. Paul Bloom, really appreciate the insight from inside the courtroom. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jason.
Paul Bloom, check him out on Fox 9 tonight. We'll wrap up Drive Time in just a minute.
Drive Time with DeRusha is fueled by Luther Kia of Bloomington. Go see Dan Dingman and the crew today, or always online at lutherkiaofbloomington.com.
It's Men's Health Month, and I want all of the guys and everybody out there who cares about a guy in their life to think about getting a full body skin checkup. It's Jason for my friends at Tureen Dermatology. And Tureen Dermatology, they're there for you, whatever your skincare need is. If you've been maybe putting off a skin check, maybe you got a mole or a mark that's changed color, shape, size, don't wait. Don't put it off. I know what it's like as a guy. I like to wait. I like to see if things will resolve themselves. But sometimes you got to just get it going. And the team at Tureen is there to take care of you in short order as well. New Tureen Dermatology clients get an appointment within 3 weeks. Boom. And depending on the clinic, you might be in even quicker. They make it easy for you to get checked and quick to get that peace of mind you need. So let's go. The website gets you to all 11 locations. I go to Roseville. Maybe you go to Eagan or Maplewood or Hudson. New clinics coming online as well in Western Wisconsin, all over the metro area. Get to Tureen, Tareen, dermatology.com.
It's your captain speaking. To the passenger with the Mirror Fast soft shoes, smart move.
No way am I letting travel constipation ruin this trip.
Can't blame you. Mirror Fast works fast, but without the harsh side effects.
Since I'm such a smart traveler, can I move to first class?
No. Close the curtain, Carol.
From the makers of Miralax, new Mirafast soft chews work naturally with your body in as little as 30 minutes to give you a comfortable go on the go. Find Mirafast today at your local retailer. Use as directed for occasional constipation. Contains magnesium hydroxide.
96%. That's how many of Minnesota's 24,000 corn farms are family-owned and operated. They aren't big, faceless corporations, but Moms and dads, brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Together they innovate, implement new technologies, and steward our natural resources, all to ensure that we have a safe, healthy food and fuel supply and provide for future generations. 96%. That's Minnesota Family Corn Farming. That's your Minnesota corn farmer. Learn more at mncorn.org.
I never thought of myself as the type to settle down. Never knew where the team's next lunch was coming from. But then I met you, Easy Cater.
Workplaces everywhere are saying, I do want delicious food at work. And they're ordering from beloved restaurants with Easy Cater.
You were reliable. You had great options for every budget, even when marketing ops did keto again. We got through that together. With you, it's just so easy. Easy Cater, will you keep showing up at my workplace forever?
Find love at first lunch. Order at easycater.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
A little bit of good news. North 35E near Little Canada Road crash has been cleared. Right lane's been reopened. Traffic-wise, though, you're still jammed up all the way back toward downtown St. Paul. 35W northbound remains a slow ride into downtown Minneapolis. You come up past 42nd Street, 394 eastbound, jammed up Penn to 94. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
You sit on your deck and you're sick of looking at your crappy siding. Type JTR on your computer for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, and more. JTR Roofing has you covered from the roof on down, serving the Twin Cities Metro. For a free estimate, visit jtrroofinginc.com.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
JTR Roofing wants you to know it's raining. Raining in Cambridge, raining in Buffalo, raining in Medina, but not in the 494 loop in the metro area. Those storms move out overnight, and we cool down to 57. Tomorrow, 80. Scattered showers possible Friday night. Saturday, 73. No rain. Right now, it's 62 on C2.
Jason DeRusha.
You can't have people telling you 24/7 that you're great. You need people around you to say, hey, that's a bad idea.
On News Talk 830 WCCO.
World Cup is going on, and I'm kind of glad that we don't have any of these games. Usually I want the stuff, you know what I mean? Usually I want, if there's an event, I want it here. I don't know that we need the World Cup. I don't know that we need it. The security that's needed.
Well, did you see any of the Rahm Emanuel interview where he talked about why he didn't bid for it from when he was mayor of Chicago?
No.
Just, I mean, the way FIFA runs this thing, it's here cities, put up a bunch of money and take a bunch of risk, and we're going to get all the profit. Thank you.
Chicago said no. We said no. And one other major metro area said no. I don't remember which the other one was, but we're the smart ones as far as I'm concerned. I hope America plays well. I want to cheer for.
Just doesn't feel like there's as much buzz this time around.
Yeah, it's because the American men are not that good. Continental Diamond's good. Continental Diamond time is 5:57. Henry's next.
You know that feeling when your body is tired, but your brain just won't shut